Chapter 239. The Sound Beast Mountain, _ Your people? The demeanor on the old man's face did not change. He seriously sat still, slightly knitting his eyebrows, curiously looking at Shiryen. Have those people come here together with you? Shiryen shook his head and said, Not with me, but I know them. They are my enemies, and they have been chasing me here since I was in the outside world. I'm their target. Is their hatred of you that much? Siyubai was curious. Hundreds of warriors have been chasing after you here to kill you. After all, what did you do? Shiryen forced a miserable smile. Nothing. No matter what their target was, everyone had to act moderately in the demonic Sound clan's territory. The old man frowned and said, Ifome, go arrest them now. Bring some people with you. Don't let them escape. A skinny guy at the Nirvana realm nodded his head, indicating his obedience, and quickly left. Okay, let's continue where we left off. The old man calmly took one sip of tea. The outside world. What is the situation now? What is the name of your area? Is there anything special there? The outside world. I came here from the Endless Sea through the Heaven Gate at the Sky Sea. At the Endless Sea, many different forces of humankind warriors have been competing to dominate the areas with full of resources. After contemplating for a while, Shiryen explained the senior man of the demonic Sound clan a little of what he knew about the Endless Sea. The old man listened to Shiryen without saying anything. Father, the Endless Sea doesn't seem to be our ancient land? After thinking for a while, she couldn't help but speak up. No, it is not our ancient land. But don't worry. When we reach the outside world, we will find our ancient land. The elder nodded his head. If those humankind warriors can come here, it means that the formation technique has recently eased off a little bit. It's time to talk to the Wings race. The Wings race has always been looking for a way to get out of here, but they are not friendly with us. They even have attacked us recently. Father, you want to make contact with the Wings race. Siyubai didn't seem to agree with him. The Wings race has evil intentions. They want to get out of here and conquer the outside world. Once they leave this place, it would not be a good thing for the outside world. After a few years of recuperating, the Wings race's strength has improved a lot. The reason we have been deported here is that we had cooperated with the Wings race. I know the Wings race's bad ambition, but with the demonic Sound clan's ability alone, I am afraid we cannot leave here. The senior man convinced the girl. Only if the two tribes can cooperate can we get out of here. Otherwise, we may be trapped here forever. Don't worry. Before talking to the Wings race, I will ask other leaders for more information. If everything is fine, I will contact the Wings race. Shiryen still kept silent, but was surprised. According to the conversation between the old man and the girl named Siyubai, he knew that besides the demonic Sound clan, there was also another tribe called the Wings race. These two big tribes might have been from the Neolithic age, and no one knew the reason that had led to their deportation and confinement here. The demonic Sound clan and the Wings race should have belonged to the Grace mainland before. Moreover, the ability of these two tribes should be very mighty. Although they had been deported here for many years, they still preserved the intention of breaking out to go back to the Grace mainland, their ancient land. As the formation technique in the soul consciousness had been deactivated, Shiryen could inaudibly observe around now, realizing that inside of the hall, there were more than 10 Nirvana realm and the Sky realm warriors. The senior man's cultivation base should be at the God realm. The senior man seemed to be one of the leaders of the demonic Sound clan. According to him, there were also other leaders. If they also had the same cultivation base as he did, the demonic Sound clan's strength could easily defeat any forces of the Endless Sea. The demonic Sound clan was terrifying already, but they seemed to be very cautious when talking about the Wings race. The Wings race's strength appeared to be even stronger than the demonic Sound clan's. If this was the truth, once the demonic Sound clan and the Wings race cooperated to escape from this place, going to the Endless Sea, he couldn't imagine what problem they would bring to the Endless Sea. You want to go back to the Grace mainland? As different thoughts kept popping up in his mind, Shiryen suddenly came up with an idea and spoke up. That is right. We don't want to live here. We hope to go back to our ancestry land. It has been almost 10,000 years since we had been deported. We want to know how our ancestry land looks like. We don't originally belong to this place. Siyu Bai's eyes were clear and anxious. Our ancestry land, we miss our ancestry land. There were the three gods of the sun, the moon, and the star, big oceans, the scenes that we have never seen before. The endless sea is not peaceful at this time. It may be not a good time to go back there now. Shi Yan said with a low voice. Tell me more. The old man said with a serious face. Because the demon dwellers of the fourth demon area and the dark dwellers of the netherworld may invade the endless sea. Once they arrive the endless sea, it should be a disaster for all the tribes living there. If you go back this time, you will face the demon dwellers and the dark dwellers. After thinking for a while, Shi Yan decided to tell them about the current situation. He didn't know anything about the demonic Sound clan or the Wings race, nor was he sure that if the return of these two tribes to the Endless Sea was a good or bad thing for the Endless Sea. Telling them about the demon dwellers and the dark dwellers. Shi Yan wanted to see their attitude. The demon dwellers and the dark dwellers. When the old man heard of these two pagan tribes, his face changed dramatically. He suddenly said after a while, no worries. We only want to go back to our ancestry land. We will not stay in the Endless Sea for long, nor will we get into any troubles with them. The demon dwellers and the dark dwellers. Father, what is the origin of these two pagan tribes? Siyu Bai asked with curiosity. I will tell you later. The old man shook his head and explained nothing more. However, his ashy gray eyes flared up the complicated light. It seemed that the names of demon dwellers and dark dwellers had called up something. A subtle smile beamed out from the corner of his mouth. His face looked very strange. As the old man stopped asking questions, Shi Yan also kept silent and secretly released his soul consciousness to observe outside the hall, wanting to leave this place. However, the lava stone in this hall seemed to have the mighty power that prevented his soul consciousness from going through it. His soul consciousness encountered a big hindrance when it was on the way flying out. Shi Yan reluctantly gave up and quietly looked at the old man. Yifeng came back after having left for a while. After kowtowing, he respectfully said, Great Master, we were a little bit late. Yimeng has arrested all of the human warriors. Yimeng. The senior man raised his eyebrows and calmly said, I am afraid those people are done. Several human warriors came here and killed Yimeng's son a few years ago. Although he tortured those guys for long periods, his animosity against human warriors never ends. As he has arrested many warriors this time, he might have enough to play with for a long time. A strange light flared up and instantly disappeared in Shi Yan's eyes. You should be jubilant because Yimeng has arrested your enemies while you are here. He coldly looked at Shi Yan. Our prejudice towards the humankind is not as profound as Yimeng's. I will not treat you bad as long as you honestly cooperate with me. Not only can I let you free, but also give you some things that you cannot find from the outside world. I will do my best. Shi Yan smiled and said, I don't want to die. I only want to live well. However, my strength is limited. I am not sure if I can be much of help. There is an intense burning fires movement inside your body. Can you use that burning fire power? The senior man suddenly said. The burning fires has tempered my body, and that is how I have the power of the burning fires. I think I can use a part of it, but I am not confident it will be as much as you expect. Siyu Bai, you and he go to the Sound Beast Mountain to see if you can catch more of the Sound Beast's heads with the burning fire's power in his body. After thinking for a while, the old man looked at his daughter and assigned a mission for her. As Kaba's people often wandered around the Sound Beast Mountain recently, the Sound Beasts do not dare to take risks to expose themselves. I don't know if we can get more of them. Siyu Bai mumbled to herself and then slowly walked towards Shi Yan, throwing a sharp glance at him, speaking, Outsider, follow me. If you can help me catch some Sound Beast heads, maybe I will feel better and let you free. Shi Yan knitted his eyebrows. Under the scrutinized look of the old man, he said nothing, bowing his head and following Siyu Bai to go outside. After crossing a very long corridor, Shi Yan saw the bright sky again eventually. He was standing on a pile of stones near a 500-meter-high architectural building. In his view, there were many other 10-meter-high ancient stone structures nearby. In a further distance, another two mighty 500-meter-high imposing ancient structures like the immeasurably magnificent and splendid mountains in the sky that could stir people's eyesight. This place was a great ancient stone city. Among these structures, the lowest one was tens of meters high, covering thousands of square meters. The biggest one was similar to the one he was standing on, which was hundreds of meters high and covered about tens of thousands square meters. It was even bigger than the biggest one he had seen in the outside world, and it was unknown how it had been built. In this giant stone ancient city, everyone in the demonic Sound clan looked very pale with their miasmatic spirits and unusual physical strength. They seemed to be very light and not to be restricted by the limit of realms. Even the Earth Realm or the Nirvana Realm warriors could freely fly around in the city. It was very strange. A dense mist gray-white fog covered the entire ancient city. There should be some formation technique inside that mist to protect the city. The dense sky and earth spiritual aura overflow every corner of the city. Although the sky and earth aura here was not as good as the one in the Immortal Island, it was still superb compared with other places of the Endless Sea and enough for the warriors to use for their cultivation. Shiryen. A voice suddenly came up from a distance. That was Chao Jilan's voice. Shiryan's face slightly changed. He looked toward the direction where the voice resounded. In the distance, he saw a big wooden cage being pulled up to the sky by some strange beasts' heads. These beasts had small thin wings like a layer of flesh. Their bodies had adamant miasmatic power, which was somehow similar to that of the demonic Sound clan's pagans. The beasts spread their 5 or 6 meter wide wings like falcons. Their entire bodies were turquoise and had moving lights. The top of the wooden cage, which had pulled up by the beasts, was fully covered by creepers. Those vines like spiritual snakes wrapped around the wooden cage, radiating a green ray of light and creating a miraculous constraint binding the wooden cage. Inside the wooden cage, Chao Jilan, Chu Yanqing, Gu Linglong, Panja, and a flock of other warriors were all restricted by a formation technique. They all looked like slaves with dark faces in a cage. They seemed to suffer a lot of torture that they became honestly obedient without daring to resist. Some guys with gloomy, pale faces in dark green armors were riding those beasts, gathering and discussing with each other in a low tone. Some of them turned their heads around, coldly glancing at Chao Jilan when they heard her scream. She looked toward Shiryan's direction with a slight happiness in her eyes. Those guys pulled up the wooden cage away, seemingly wanting to change the direction. Chao Jilan's spirit god martial spirit was unique. It was not affected by the formation technique and thus quickly realized the living vibration from Shiryan's body as soon as he had gone out of the imposing architectural structure. That was why she couldn't help but scream. In a distance of 100 meters, Shiryen knitted his eyebrows, looking at Chao Jilan, Panja, Chu Yanqing, and other warriors who were being confined like livestock. He couldn't help but release a sigh, feeling pity for them. Although Chao Jilan and the others were his opponents, they all came here from the outside world. However, Yimeng has captured and confined them like livestock and would soon torture them to death. He could not feel good looking at them. "See you bye. You have captured this human being?" A guy of the demonic Sound clan who was in the lead suddenly raised his hand, signaling the beast to stop. He then gently flew over, hovering about in the air while coldly looking at Shiryen. See you bye slightly frowned and then calmly said, "Yi, you are quick. You have captured those outsiders just in a short while. If I knew that there were more than one person, you wouldn't have been able to reap such a big spoil." The guy dragged a strange smile out of his mouth and said, "I was just lucky. While I was wandering outside, I detected these outsiders and easily captured them. Ha ha ha, the cultivation base of some of them are not bad, but their souls are too weak compared to mine." See you bye quickly said, "Regarding souls, the demonic Sound clan has the God-given advantage. Those aliens obviously cannot be compared to us. If you have already captured them, you should leave soon. Why do you need to waste your time with me? How can talking to you be a waste of time?" Yeji smiled. As seeing no reaction from See You Bye, he pointed to Shiryen and said, "I am also interested in that guy. See You Bye, say a price, I pay her to take him. What do you think?" While Yaji was talking, his strange eyes fixed on Shiryan's body. A flow of miraculous soul vibration like a thin fiber of soul explored and went into Shiryan's head, intruding his sea of consciousness, taking the secret life in his mind. Shiryan's face changed dramatically. When he was about to gather his forces to resist this soul vibration, another flow of soul vibration like a cold wind zoomed over, quickly covering his head. Yaji's soul power was instantly wiped out completely, disappearing from his head without leaving a trace. This guy belongs to me. Without my consent, no one can touch his soul. Siyubai's clear, cold voice rose up. She displeasingly stared at Yaji. You can torture those in the cage however you want, but you are not allowed to touch mine. Otherwise, don't blame me for treating you badly. I can bargain. Yaji forced a smile. I will pay you a very good price for this guy. Is it okay? You have already captured many warriors. Why do you still want him? Siyubai felt a bit strange when listening to what he said. You already have many, why him? Ha ha ha, I see it's useful. Yaji thought for a while and said, Siyubai, if you are interested in humankind warriors, we can exchange. Those warriors over there, except the 3 ladies, I can trade any one of the rest, even 2 of them. What do you think? Why must you have him? Siyubai was surprised, confusingly looking at Yaji and then at Shiryan. Is he special? Very special. Yaji nodded his head. So, do you want to exchange or not? No, Siyubai harumphed. She thought for a while before grabbing Shiryan's shoulder, flying away and speaking at the same time. This guy is useful. I do not want to give him to you now. Wait until I feel that he is not useful anymore. Then I might sell him to you. Siyubai, be careful. He is very dangerous. Yaji warned her from a distance. Dangerous? Siyubai uttered a word with despise, coldly glancing at Shiryan. She continued, you should better be honestly obedient. Otherwise, I will make your soul disappear in a second. Maybe you don't know yet, but it's not hard for the demonic sound clan to ruin your humankind. Yeah, I know your soul competency went beyond that of the human warriors. Shiryan's face remained unchanged. Your physical strength is very unusual, and the brain is also peculiar. They are very suitable for soul cultivation. Your soul is very powerful. It can be compared with the one of the Sky Realm warrior, but your body, on the contrary, is not as strong as a human Sky Realm warrior. However, you still can use your powerful soul to dominate and easily destroy my sea of consciousness. Isn't that so? Shiryan didn't say anything since he got out of the ancient city with Siyubai, but it didn't mean that he knew nothing. He had been quietly observing the demonic sound clan for a while, realizing that all of the demonic sound clan's people were very powerful. Regarding soul cultivation, the demonic sound clan's people were much stronger than many of the humankind warriors. Their knowledge of soul was much more profound than that of the humankind warriors. However, because of their particular physical structure, they looked very feeble. Not to mention Shiryan's body, their bodies were much weaker than those of the ordinary humankind warriors. Not only this, the profound chi in their bodies were also peculiar. Their profound chi did not converge in one place, it spread out everywhere inside the body. The nerves and veins were also fragile and narrow, preventing them from receiving too much of the profound chi. After observing in silence for a while, Shiryan realized that the intensity of the woman's soul had reached the Sky Realm, and her subtle body contained a lot of profound chi. However, her profound chi could not be more than his because of her weak body and narrow veins. Her body strength should also be limited. If she did not rely on the God-given soul advantage, she might have been unable to defeat an ordinary Earth Realm warrior. Thanks to the strong strength of the Sea of Consciousness, Shiryan gradually understood everything. You can see through many things in such a short time? Siyubai was terrified. A shocking look appeared on her face. She gazed at Shiryan for a moment and then said, I should have placed more soul formation techniques on you. Don't. I am very savvy. I know that your soul power is very vigorous. If I do something wrong, you can easily recognize it in this short distance. You can use your soul to kill me easily before I can do anything. Therefore, I will not do anything stupid, so you should not waste too much of your power. Don't worry, I will try my best for you. Shi quickly shouted. You have such a sweet mouth. Siyu Bai's beautiful eyes stared at Shi and firmly nodded her head. You are very smart, smarter than many of the demonic Sound Clan's people. Moreover, although you are only at Earth Realm, you've already possessed the Sea of Consciousness. You're not bad at all. You should have some secrets, otherwise, Yaji shouldn't be interested in you like this. After taking a big breath of air, Siyu Bai said, maybe I should analyze your soul, seizing everything inside of your head to know everything hidden there. There is nothing you can hide. I will know all your secrets. Although this might get me seriously injured, I am still really excited about doing it. Shi slightly shivered. His eyes shot out a cold ray of light. He seemed to be ready to risk his life. I already knew that you were very cunning. Don't think you can take anything from me. Right now, I just don't want to kill you yet. If you dare to do anything stupid, you will know the consequence. Siyu Bai's face coldly darkened, but a hesitating look appeared on her face. If you can help me catch the sound beasts at the 5th or 6th level, I will set you free. Otherwise, I will detain you and give you to Yaji. Sound beasts? Aren't they beasts? The sound beasts are one kind of beasts. They only live in the Sound Beast Mountain where the miasmatic aura is incredibly dense. The sound beasts are made from Een. Their demon's crystal pearls also have the icy Een trait. They are very useful for us. Our cultivation will be prosperous if we can have these demons' crystal pearls. The Sound Beast Mountain has the ancient thunder formation, which discharged lightning. The sound beasts do not have any big problem if being hit by lightning. The demonic Sound Clan, on the other hand, is naturally afraid of lightning, so we cannot go any further into the Sound Beast Mountain, except that we can only stay outside the mountain and catch the sound beasts that venture out. How is it useful with my help? The sound beast's trait is icy Een, and their souls are also unique. It is not easy for the demonic Sound Clan to use our soul advantage to deal with them. To catch them, we also need to make use of the direct attacking weapons. However, once the sound beasts cannot win, they will quickly retrieve and hide inside of the Sound Beast Mountain. Thus, we cannot do anything. The sound beasts had one weakness: they are afraid of the burning fires. If you can use the burning fires, it is easier to catch them. Of course, we have to see if your burning fires are useful or not. Weak burning fires cannot affect the sound beasts. Okay, I understand. I will help you arrest the sound beasts. Our deal is 10 of the 5th or 6th level sound beasts. Is it okay? If you can help me capture 10 of the 5th or 6th level sound beasts, I will set you free. If you can capture more, I can buy them at a reasonable price. The demon's crystal pearls of the sound beasts are very treasurable. You can use them to exchange for any essential things that you want. Can I exchange for slaves? Anything. Good. Maybe I will use some demon's crystal pearls of the sound beasts to exchange for some female slaves. Shi thought about Chao Zhilan, Gu Linglong, and Chu Yanqing, the 3 ladies who were being confined by Yaji. Rotten. Seeing the lust in Shi eyes, Siyu Bai couldn't help but curse. Human beings, no one is good indeed. My father was right. I assume that the demonic Sound Clan's people have a strong prejudice against human beings. Humankind is cruel. If it were not because of humankind, we wouldn't have been deported to this place. Because of you, we all could not return to our ancestry land, being forced to stay here forever where there aren't the 3 gods of the sun, the moon, and the star. Siyu Bai coldly said. Why were you deported to this place? They wouldn't do it without any reasons. Shut up. Siyu Bai jangled. Her beautiful face suddenly sharpened. Shi got surprised and said no more. He was afraid that Siyu Bai would not be able to control herself and take actions with him. After having got out of the giant stone ancient city and crossing the extensive forest for a long time, a mighty, 10,000-meter high mountain struck his eyes. The mighty imposing mountain dominated the skyline. Masses of white clouds hovered around in the middle of the mountain flank. The mountain peak pierced straight up into the sky. Each striking lightning like a giant dragon minced around the giant mountain, discharging powerful electric streams. On the giant mountain, ancient trees and deep black caves intensely scattered around the mountain cliffs. Many big sound beasts appeared, howling from the inside of the caves. The howls had a strange, powerful energy that terrified people. When these howls reverberated, the vibrations churned up in Yan's sea of consciousness. His soul consciousness was not stable either. The sky and earth aura gathered and created the sound beasts. Their soul is also very particular. Thus, their howls can badly hurt the ordinary warriors. However, you don't seem to be affected by the howls. You are no an ordinary person indeed. So I don't need to worry too much. Sending the soul protection forces to your head has decreased my energy. Siyu Bai soon relaxed her vigilance. She and Yan were standing shoulder to shoulder on a big long branch of an ancient tree. He raised her head looking toward the Sound Beast Mountain in front of them and asked, "What is the level of the strongest sound beast of the Sound Beast Mountain?" Yan looked ahead. As his sea of consciousness was agitated, and he couldn't release soul consciousness, it was hard for him to recognize the real strength of all the sound beasts in the Sound Beast Mountain. The strongest sound beast, Siyu Bai shook her head. Because of lightning, the demonic sound clan cannot intrude inside, so we don't know what is the level of the strongest sound beast is. The Wings race used to invade the Sound Beast Mountain, but none of them have ever got out alive. You and the Wings race have always been fighting. Almost. The Wings race people live just behind the Sound Beast Mountain. They consider themselves to be the true lords of this land. They want to rule the demonic Sound Clan. In recent years, the Wings race strength has been stronger than ours. If it isn't because that the Wings race people have conflicts with each other, we should have become their slaves. Siyu Bai dispiritedly replied. The Wings race. Yan thought for a moment. You have God-given soul advantages, and you can easily destroy our souls, but you cannot deal with the Wings race. The Wings race is more dangerous than humankind. No human being can compare with their solid physical body. Although the Wings race's soul is not as good as the humankind's, they still have many ways to protect their soul from being violated. Humankind absolutely cannot compare with them. Siyu Bai coldly said. Oe, oe, boo-hoo, boo-hoo. A strange noise like a baby crying came out from one cave on the Sound Beast Mountain. When that peculiar crying resounded, inside of that cave instantly emitted many flows of the gray aura. This gray miasmatic aura spread out violently and quickly, covering the entire small area in just a blink. A bunch of large figures was dancing in the middle of the gray aura, coming down the Sound Beast Mountain together with the gray aura, walking towards an icy lake in the distance. Child Devil. Siyu Bai's face changed dramatically. Her subtle body slightly shivered while she was staring at the place where the gray aura gathered. She said in fear, "This thing shouldn't appear at this time of the year. Is the defensive formation weakening? Irrational, really irrational. No, we might have to cancel our plan now." Turning around, Siyu Bai held Yan with one hand and hurriedly said, "We should leave now. Forget this time. I have to inform my clan about the child devil. Are you sure we will be able to escape?" Yan's eyes slightly changed while he pointed towards something ahead. "That thing seems to have detected us already." They started changing the direction. "What?" Siyu Bai shouted in panic. Her white face got chalky. Chapter 240. Everything has its conqueror, _ Each long skinny figure zoomed through the gray miasmatic aura, quickly descending as if they wanted to wrap and tie Yan and Siyu Bai up tightly. Many long thin figures appeared more and more clearly inside that fuzzy aura. They were a particular kind of beasts with a human child face, a dreary pale look and a mouth full of fangs. This creature was 3 meters tall with a sturdy body, a white childlike face, and long fangs. It looked terribly scary. The child devil's body projected a powerful miasmatic aura. The soul of this creature was unique. There seemed to have a particular layer of flesh in their brain to prevent any soul attacks. Their movement was very fast. With a slight sway, they were in the air plunging more than 10 jongs already. 3 child devils appeared in a short moment, showing their fangs and claws, closely approaching Yan and Siyu Bai below. Although Siyu Bai's soul could be as powerful as a Sky Realm warrior's, it was still hard for her to release the soul attacks when facing with the child devils. Thus, she could do nothing but grab Serene, hurriedly leaving this place. We cannot leave. Your speed is fast, but apparently not as fast as those strange beasts. Serene stood motionlessly, seeming to be unexpectedly conscious. According to him, although those child devils were powerful, they still had their weaknesses. Although the icy aura on their bodies was very mighty, and their living power was very powerful, they should be at the 5th or 6th level at most, just equivalent to the Earth Realm or Nirvana Realm warriors. Serene was not afraid of the beasts at the level. Beho! The 3 child devils cried out like babies. Their white fangs quickly became sharper and longer. Red blood flowed out from the corners of their mouths. That looked terribly horrible. Child devils are not afraid of the demonic Sound Clan souls. They are our mortal enemy. When they are out, we have to hide inside of the ancient city. Siubai's face was not rubicund, but turning to white pale. The 3 child devils had already been not far from him, separating and besieging Serene and Siubai. The child devils were flying around, dragging flows of bleary smoke. Their speed was extremely fast. Even Serene's eyes could not follow their figures. He could only rely on his soul consciousness to identify their direction. Perhaps because the 3 demon children could have realized the strong burning fires inside Serene, they hadn't killed Serene and Siubai yet, only besieging them and seeming to wait for something. Siubai was scared of the gaze of the deep blue eyes of the 3 child devils. Her beautiful face was full of fear. Her behavior now was entirely different from the way she had treated Serene earlier. She started being terrified. Don't worry. Have you forgotten why you and I come here? These 3 child devils should be the sound beasts at the 5th level. The demonic Sound Clan cannot deal with them, but I can. Serene's eyes were cold. He didn't seem to be frightened when facing these 3 child devils. Leave them to me. Shriek, shriek. 3 child devils kept shrieking and crying nonstop. Some responding sounds sometimes reverberated from a cave somewhere on the Sound Beast Mountain not far from their current place. They are calling for more sound beasts to come. Siubai suddenly felt unsafe. The defensive formation around the Sound Beast Mountain is decreasing. I feel that a major upheaval is going to happen. No, we have to go back to the ancient city immediately. The city has all kinds of the defensive formations that can prevent the sound beasts from intruding. I want to finish my promise earlier. Serene frowned. Don't use any soul attacks on me. I take actions now. Upon these words, Serene immediately communicated with the earth flame in the blood vein ring. Many flows of the burning fires quickly spread out from the blood vein ring and instantly rolled into Serene's body. After a moment, Serene's body became blazing red, inflaming formidably. As the earth flame had devoured the sun power of the sun-refined spirit, it had quickly evolved. Its intelligence had recently increased. Its burning fires were stronger than what Serene had expected. It had almost gained enough power to be able to compete with the icy power of the ice-cold flame. Having been burned by the sun flames, Serene's body had miraculously transformed, being able to receive more power of the earth flame. All the nerves and veins in his body completely absorbed this power from the earth flame. He felt warmer and less painful than when his system had been burnt. His consciousness slightly flickered. Flames suddenly flew out from Serene's body, instantly gathering and turning into fire clouds expanding next to Serene. Each group of fire clouds contained Serene's consciousness, quickly dashing toward the 3 child devils and wrapping them. Screech, screech, screech. 3 child devils made strange ear-piercing shrieks. Seeing the burning fires coming, they hastily ran away with fear in their dark blue eyes. Stay! Serene shouted while his spirits had some transformations again. The fire clouds abruptly exploded, turning into countless fire points of light covering the entire area. The fire points of light were intense and dense like drizzling rain, covering every corner of this area. After the explosion, the number of the fire points of light had compensated for their moderate power, leaving the 3 child devils with no place to hide. Sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. White smoke instantly rose up as soon as the fire points of light hit the 3 child devils' bodies. The fire points of light were like the strongest acid in the world, rotting their bodies in a blink because their bodies were made of the icy miasmatic aura. As soon as the fire points of light touched the child devils, they eroded the child devils' bodies, creating big holes immediately. Those fire points of light of the earth flame conquered these child devils' bodies. The fire points of light scattered everywhere in the sky. The 3 child devils cried out terribly while their bodies smoked. Thus, their movements were also getting much slower. The demon's crystal pearls of these 3 child devils are robust enough? Serene turned his head towards Siyu Bai and asked. She avoided his look and moved further away from him. She nodded and responded him with the shock remaining on her face. They are all solid. The heaven flame. That is the forces of the heaven flame. Confusion waves surged up in Siyu Bai's mind. Her clear eyes looked fearful. She started to be scared of Serene. She knew how dangerous the child devils were. Although they were one kind of the sound beasts, they were immune from the burning fires. As they were not scared of being hit by the ordinary burning fires, they kept attacking and slaughtering the demonic Sound Clan's people. However, Serene's fire points of light could erode the child devils' bodies once the fires touched them and almost crushed them to ashes. What kind of forces was this? Only the nemesis of the sound beasts in the legend, the power of the heaven flame, was capable of destroying them. Siyu Bai had never seen the heaven flame. She learned from her father the legend about the heaven flame conquering the sound beasts. The scorching heaven flame was the genuine terrifying conqueror of the sound beasts. To the demonic Sound Clan, wasn't this the most frightening thing? The demonic Sound Clan's physical bodies had the icy miasmatic trait. Although their souls were very powerful, once the scorching heaven flame touched them, the result was not better than what the sound beasts had to suffer. In other words, if the fire points of light from Serene's body hit on her body, she would quickly erode like those child devils. The miasmatic aura on the demonic Sound Clan's body could not prevent it from being burnt by the heaven flame. If the demonic Sound Clan did not have the God-given advantage of souls, and if Serene was not afraid of the demonic Sound Clan's confinement, he alone, together with that heaven flame's power in his body, could lay down the law and rule the root in the ancient city. He could even take advantage of the heaven flame's power to slaughter the whole demonic Sound Clan. Except if the demonic Sound Clan had an icy secret treasure, they could use it to resist the heaven flame's attack. Other than that, their bodies would evaporate like steam under the heaven flame's power. Siyu Bai felt chilled to the bone. When Siyu Bai saw Serene control the power of the earth flame to burn the 3 child devils, making them shrieking terribly, her eyes flared up a strange ray of light. A thought came up in her mind. Should she kill him right now? Her eyes kept flickering. She felt that killing Serene now was the best decision. Otherwise, if Serene could find out a way to not be afraid of the demonic Sound Clan soul attacks, his existence would be a nightmare for the demonic Sound Clan. Very simple. When her mind was still in chaos with many thoughts, Serene had already handled the 3 child devils. 3 blue demons' crystal pearls were hovering about in the air. His profound chi then quickly pulled down the 3 demons' crystal pearls into his hand. Here, 3 demons' crystal pearls for you. Don't worry. I will find enough demons' crystal pearls. Serene forced a smile. When he saw Siyu Bai's panic face, he said, "This world is very mysterious. The demonic Sound Clan with the profound soul competency can easily kill me, but the child devils are your nemesis who can easily tear you down into pieces. Meanwhile, I am the nemesis of the child devils, using the burning fire's power to kill them quickly. Everything has its conqueror. Isn't that the law of nature?" Siyu Bai's face was confused. She stretched out her hand to take the 3 blue demons' crystal pearls and said, "These 3 demons' crystal pearls of the child devils are more valuable than the ones of the other sound beasts. The child devils contain miasmatic een aura and spirits which are very useful for our cultivation. If relying only on the demonic Sound Clan's strength alone, there is no way to collect the demons' crystal pearls. Only the Wings race can hunt the child devils down. They will use the demons' crystal pearls of the child devils to exchange for some valuable things of the demonic Sound Clan. I will find enough demons' crystal pearls for you." Serene slightly knitted his eyebrows. "You only need to keep your promise." Being confined is not something fun and comfortable, but I am a man of my words. Do you hate us? Siyu Bai quickly asked. Chapter 241, Birdman, _ Shiryen was surprised, knitting his brows and thinking. Siyu Bai slightly gritted her teeth and then coldly said, "If I let you free, will you find me and take revenge in the future? I have captured you and used your freedom to force you in catching the beasts for me. Will you hate me?" "Hate you?" Shiryen was astonished. He contemplated for a while before bursting into laughter, shaking his head. "Not that much of hatred. I am only a little discontented. If you treated me friendly at the beginning instead of threatening, I think I would still be happy to help you catch more sound beasts." Siyu Bai's eyes glowed, staring at Shiryen without blinking, seemingly wanting to see through his real thought. Shiryen's eyes beamed out an innocent look. A faint smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Under her gaze, he didn't seem to be startled. He shrugged and calmly said, "If you fraternize with me, we can become friends." I am human, and you are pagan of the demonic Sound clan. Although it is the pagan race, it is okay for me. I am Siyu Bai, Siyu Bai. Glad to know you. I hope you can consider me a friend." Siyu Bai thought for a while before comfortably stretching her white hand towards Shiryen and sincerely saying, "Sorry for my rude behavior earlier. I hope that you can forget it. Now we shall start over again." Shiryen, stretching his big hand and gently holding Siyu Bai's jade-like hand, Shiryen gave out a broad smile. "That is very good. Thank you," Siyu Bai cheerfully said. "Without your help, I think those child devils would have devoured me." After a certain time, many child devils go out from the Sound Beast Mountain, considering pagans their prey. It is like when we hunt the sound beasts down, the child devils chase us, devouring us so that they can progress faster and stronger. Shiryen was frightened. The child devils are the demonic Sound clan's natural enemy. The child devils have been evolving nonstop, and thus they have become terrifying. They are not afraid of our clan's soul attacks and able to tear our bodies apart into pieces. Siyu Bai was still frightened. Each time the child devils go out of the Sound Beast Mountain, the demonic Sound clan's people have to stay inside of the castle without daring to take one step outside. My father told me that the child devils and we both have been deported to this place. The people expelling us here have sent the child devils together with us because they were scared of the demonic Sound clan. Arg, I did not know anything about the story of your demonic Sound clan before. I don't want to judge anything. Shiryen was silent for a moment before speaking. But I have no prejudice against the demonic Sound clan. I treat everyone the same way, either pagan race or humankind. If people treat me well, I will treat them the same way. If not, I will give them a hard time. It is my most basic human behavior. I know you also want to leave this place. That is also my purpose. Thus, I hope we can get along well together in the coming days to find out a way to get out of here. My father is one of the leaders of the ancient city. The demonic Sound clan's people are very unfriendly with humankind. You probably recognized this already. When you are still here, I will treat you like a servant so that others will not pay attention to you. I hope you understand, Siyu Bai said with sincerity. I understand. Although Shiryen did not like it, there wasn't anything else that he could do. Thus, he reluctantly nodded his head. One more thing, I hope that you use just a small part of the Heaven Flame's forces. It is better not to let other people of the demonic Sound clan see it, otherwise I am afraid everyone will disturb you. Siyu Bai softly said, "To be honest, I had wanted to kill you earlier. Your ability to emit the sun power is the Sound Beast's disaster. It is also the same for our bodies. We cannot bear being burned by the sun power." Shiryen's body was agitated. "Do you understand how dangerous it is?" Taking a deep breath, Shiryen nodded his head and said, "I got it. If you do not restrict my soul, you are afraid that I can use the Heaven Flame to kill all of you. Is it right?" Siyu Bai smiled agonizingly and nodded. "Yes, it is. So, if you let someone know about this power of yours, they will not hesitate to kill you right away. Because once you progress to the point where you are not afraid of our soul attack, your threat is even more terrible than that of the Wings race. Anyway, this place does not have any particular icy weapons to prevent the Heaven Flame attack. It is also the reason we have to return to our ancestry land. It has been said that there is a secret weapon in our ancestry land that can help the demonic Sound clan not be scared of the power of the burning fires nor the child devil's carnage. Hiss, hiss, hiss. Flows of gray smoke flew out one after one from inside of the Sound Beast Mountain. When the gray aura flooded the area, many strange sound beasts stormed out from the mountain. There was variety in the appearances of the beasts. Some were like apes with 2 curved horns on their head, some were like tigans, some were like the scale amur beasts. A bunch of them had different shapes with furious icy auras on their bodies. They should be the sound beasts dwelled inside of the Sound Beast Mountain, also excellent resources for the cultivation of the demonic Sound clan's people. My God, so many sound beasts are coming out. The formation technique seems to have weakened a lot. ECU by fearfully screamed out loud. Not good. The commotions of those sound beasts are too big, and it will disturb the wings race for sure. Perhaps they are on the way here. No, I have to go back to inform my father about this. Those sound beasts do not dare to come here. Shiryen faintly smiled. Let me retrieve the heaven flame first. If the heaven flame's aura is still there, those sound beasts will not act recklessly. If we want to hunt more sound beasts, we should pretend a little bit like this so that they will take the bait. Clouds of burning fires turned into many flows of light going into the blood vein ring from every corner and were retrieved by the earth flame. The burning fire's power on Shiryan's body also went back into the blood vein ring. His glowing red body quickly recovered and regained its normal state. Not long after that, there were no burning fires around Shiryan anymore. A group of the sound beasts on the flank of the Sound Beast Mountain was strangely staring at Shiryen, but they hesitated to move forward and seemed to know that it wasn't easy to bully Shiryen. Lightning struck down around the Sound Beast Mountain. It was unknown why the lightning appeared to get weaker. The giant dragon-sized lightning now gradually became as small as an arm. The formation technique kept getting weaker. ECU Bai was very astonished. Abnormal. Really strange. Something strange is happening apparently. If not, the Sound Beast Mountain cannot be this weird. Shriek, shriek, shriek. A shrieking sound echoed from the left of the Sound Beast Mountain. Not long after that, many black points appeared on the left of the Sound Beast Mountain. Birdman. Shiryen squinted to have a careful look, and he suddenly screamed out in fear. No, is this the wings race that you have described? A bunch of black points in a distance looked like humankind with wings. The differences between them and the others were the wings growing from their backs and a sturdy body shape. 5 guys of the wings race had wicked appearances, hooked nose, and cold eyes. They flapped their wings flying out from behind the Sound Beast Mountain towards Shiryan's place very fast. They are the wings race's people. ECU Bai nodded with her tightly knitted eyebrows. Perhaps the commotions of the sound beasts have disturbed the wings race. If even they got astounded, I think the people in the ancient city might also know about this already. Perhaps they are on their way to come here. 5 men of the wings race flapped their gray wings, quickly zooming to Shiryan's location. In a short moment, the 5 men of the wings race arrived in front of Shiryen. They stayed away in the distance, throwing a sharp glance at Shiryen. Their cold eyes were even more freezing. One of the guys in the lead unfriendly looked at Shiryen with a bitter smile and said, "Humankind," unexpectedly. All of these 5 men of the wings race were at the Earth realm. Their gray wings emitted spiritual powers. Their soul competency seemed feeble. Even their spiritual power had not formed yet. They apparently couldn't confine Shiryan's sea of consciousness in just a blink like demonic Sound Clan had done. However, the brain structure of the wings race was very special, and it seemed to be able to prevent the invasion of the spiritual powers like a soul isolator. Shiryan's soul consciousness could not intrude into their brains. Perhaps the reason that the wings race's people encountered difficulties in cultivating their soul power should be related to their particular brain structure. The particular brain structure gave them mighty protection forces that could resist the soul attack of the demonic Sound Clan, but it also limited them from improving their soul cultivation. What about the humankind? Shiryen looked calm, dragging a smile out of the corner of his mouth. Shiryen was honestly obedient in front of the demonic Sound Clan because they could confine and control his soul. However, the wings race was nothing to serene, although they had a sturdy body and a strong protection against the soul attack, as well as being the enemy of the demonic Sound Clan. With the same Earth Realm cultivation base, without using the power of the ice-cold flame and the earth flame, Serene was confident to be able to defeat those 5 guys. I hate humankind. The man of the wings race forced a cold smile and then asked, "Answer me, how did you come here? How many of your fellows are there? If you don't tell me, I will let you know that venturing into the wings race's territory is a fearful thing." When did this place become the wings race's territory? ECU by coldly shouted. Ha ha ha, even the ancient city of the demonic Sound Clan belongs to the wings race's territory. Obviously, this place is not an exception. The guy looked arrogant. Are you CU by? You wait and see. The wings race will conquer the demonic Sound Clan soon. Up to this time, you will become my slave. I will favor you. I know the demonic Sound Clan's body cannot bear such a strong sexual penetration. Don't worry, I will be very gentle with you and will not let you die. ECU Bai's body slightly shivered. She was lividly angry, looking at that guy with full of hatred. Birdman, your mouth stinks. Serene coldly shouted. Damn humankind, what did you call me? Birdman. Chapter 242, Wiped Out. Chapter 242, Wiped Out. _ The face of the wings race's man was malignant. His eyes shot out a cold ray of light. A flow of murderous aura slowly spread out from his gray wings all of a sudden. Gently flapping his wings, the man of the wings race deliberately moved towards Serene. Sharp wind swords condensed and emitted dazzling splendid light on his way approaching Serene. The wind power hidden inside those swords was very terrifying. Stupid humankind, I will make you wish that you would be better dead than alive. The one who insults Han Long doesn't dream to have an easy death. When the wings race's man flapped his wings, each of the sharp wind swords shrieked and flew out, creating many glowing lights in the air, flaring up and immediately disappearing. The other 2 men of the wings race with cold, gloomy eyes were behind him, one on the left and one on the right. They were protecting the man in the middle. The cultivation base of the 3 wings race's men was at the Earth Realm. The man on the lead named Han Long probably had the cultivation base, which was 1 level higher than the other 2, perhaps at the 2nd sky of the Earth Realm. His body was very sturdy. His muscles contained vigorous power, as if he would immediately turn into a javelin darting toward Serene. Good. Come here. Under the attack of those sharp wind swords, Serene beamed out a faint smile. His face didn't show any fear. He screamed out loud before slightly moving his body. His body easily avoided those wind swords as quickly as lightning. That's all you have? Serene didn't even urge the rampage nor the negative powers yet. If you only have this, you're done. Han Long. ECU Bai's face slightly changed. Her eyes were full of astonishment. You are Han Long, the son of the Grey Wings clan's leader. Stupid humankind, you are dead. The man of the wings race did not care about ECU Bai. He slowly took a deep breath, seeming to restrain his anger. I will arrest you, bring you to the Grey Wings clan, and let you suffer the molesting hands of the lewd laughing ape. The other 2 guys beside him burst into laughter with malicious faces after hearing that. You have a special taste, I assume. Do you often do it with lewd ape? Serene, with a strange face, looked like he had just woken up from a long time of consciousness. He clapped his hands and laughed out loud. You are right. Birdmen are also a hybrid delivered by animals. It is understandable if you do it with a lewd ape. I am just too surprised. Boom. An explosion came out from behind the wings race's man called Han Long. The flapping speed was getting faster. Like an arrow shot out of a bow, Han Long flew straight towards Serene with a cold face and a hateful look in his eyes. In the howling wind, the 2 silver secret treasures on his hand emitted dazzling silver light which contained tremendous, unbreakable, ferocious aura. At the same time, muscles on the body of the wings race's man expanded, and the mighty profound chi inside his body also moved faster. Concurrently, Han Long had been irritated completely, determinedly launching one strike to kill Serene. Serene's eyes slightly squinted. The flows of white-gray smoke slowly flew out from the pores of his entire body. In that mist of smoke, different negative feelings of despair, bloodshed, violence gathered behind him altogether. A flow of cold, strange, viperous, and resentful aura suddenly became denser and more intense. The white-gray smoke quickly converged and condensed into a terrible, furious phantom. The negative feelings condensed into an entity. Serene had discovered this skillful attacking technique. He made use of the negative feelings floating around in the air, condensing into a phantom which was the mix of reality and illusion. As this phantom contained a lot of negative emotions, it was similar to giving it life. After the phantom was created, not only did it bring out terrifyingly horrendous forces, but it also contained various negative feelings to slaughter enemies, stirring up the enemy's mind and breaking their defensive forces so that the negative feelings could easily absorb into their mind. What is it? As soon as seeing the phantom, the three guys of the Wings race all screamed out at the same time. ECU Bai's face slightly changed. She silently moved backward, keeping a distance from the phantom. The demonic Sound Clan soul was unique. ECU Bai's soul competency was profound, and her power sense was thorough. At the moment that the phantom had appeared, she had immediately recognized a weird thing about this phantom. Although many malicious forces gathered inside its body, it also had a lot of emotional movements. This unusual creature with ferocious life was full of bloody murderous desire. Break! Serene shouted out loud while lifting his two arms up in the air, launching the dazzling life and death seal. Han Long's silver secret treasure, like a giant claw, also emitted the sharp silver light dashing towards Dan Yen like real sharp weapons. However, as soon as Serene launched the life and death seal, the silver lights darting towards him broke into many silver points of light and vanished quickly. The life and death seal crushed that silver lights like cutting dry plant stems, and it then continued lunging straight towards Han Long's chest. Han Long's face changed dramatically, his sturdy body ceased in the air and quickly flew away. The tremendous, profound chi gathered inside his body. He flapped his wings very fast, howling winds burst and formed a visible flow of whirlwind. The life and death seal kept dashing and piercing that whirlwind impetuously. Boisterous explosive sounds continually reverberated. That whirlwind went off completely and quickly disappeared. Kill him. Han Long's eyes were like a poisonous snake, staring at Serene. As soon as the whirlwind vanished, Han Long quickly stepped backward. The other two men of the Wings race rapidly approached Serene, one on the left and one on the right. After having moved back to avoid the aftershocks of the life and death seal's explosion, Han Long continued to dart toward Serene, emitting a ferocious murderous aura. Serene, he is the son of the Grey Wings clan's leader. You. ECU Bai couldn't help but scream out loud, trying to stop Serene from fighting with him. Go! Serene didn't even bother to throw her a glance. He stretched his hand pointing to Han Long. The giant phantom hovering about behind him suddenly flew out, extending its giant claws, showing its fangs, approaching Han Long and sinking its fangs into him. Boom! Many flows of glowing burning fires suddenly inflamed in his palms, wrapping around his fingers like a worm twisting. Let burn your feather first. Serene swung his hand. A flame flew out from his hand, rolling toward the two men of the Wings race who were heading to him. He is the son of the Grey Wings clan's leader. Serene, there is no use in killing him. Forget it. We should leave now. DCU Bai shouted. You moron, you cannot live. Under the phantom's attack, Han Long was still idiotic. He grinned and said, who insults me will have to wish to be dead than alive. Birdman is Birdman, limited intelligence. Serene shook his head. His eyes were cold. When he flickered his consciousness, the phantom threw itself on Han Long and spread out its violent negative forces, covering Han Long's body in a blink. Hiss, hiss, hiss. A heart-rending scream rose up. The heaven flame had touched the two men of the Wings race. The burning fires burned up the Grey Wings on their back. Both of them drearily shouted in panic. All of the forces on their bodies gradually disappeared. No trouble in the future if you all die. The intense burning fires like masses of clouds suddenly changed direction, flying towards the three men of the wings race. When Bai screamed out in fear, the heaven flame had already wrapped them up. The phantom quietly returned next to Shiryen and gradually vanished. Being burned by the burning fires, the three men of the wings race didn't have a chance to scream. In just a few seconds, their bodies were burned to ashes, dispersing with the wind. None of their spiritual ori remained. Shiryen was surprised. He closed his eyes to sense for a while before shaking his head regretfully, thinking that he should just use only a small part of the heaven flame to fight next time, otherwise there would be nothing left for him to take. Ashes of those men dispersed and vanished. Just like that, the three men of the wings race disappeared from Shiryan's sight. Bai's infatuating eyes were still full of panic. She horribly looked at the ashes scattering everywhere and suddenly felt chilled. Roar, roar. Inside the Sound Beast Mountain ahead, the Sound Beasts instantly howled all together as soon as they saw the heaven flame. Many Sound Beasts had gone out of the Sound Beast Mountain before the heaven flame's appearance. However, when the roars and howls reverberated, they all trembled and quickly ran back into the Sound Beast Mountain. The high-level Sound Beasts could feel the destructive power of the heaven flame. They roared and howled to call their descendants to avoid Shiryan's heaven flame. In a short time, all of the Sound Beasts had already retrieved. On the Sound Beasts' mountain flank, the Sound Beasts with firm bodies displayed panic and horror looks, staring at Dan Yen from a distance. Apparently, those Sound Beasts were frightened as they knew the danger of the heaven flame. You killed Han Long. Why did you kill Han Long? Bai mumbled with a confused face. She said in shock, Han Long was the son of the Grey Wings clan's leader. The Grey Wings clan is one of the three branches of the Wings race. The head of Grey Wings clan has been very combative and always covered his men's weaknesses. When he finds out that Han Long has died, he definitely will get crazily mad. All three of them died. Who will be the bearer of the bad news? No one. Shiryen smiled. That guy had wanted to kill me. Of course, I could not just let them kill me without doing anything. Their death was not too messy. If I stay here, the Sound Beasts on the Sound Beast Mountain will not come out for this moment. Maybe we should move away and wait for the Sound Beasts to come down. We will then continue to kill them? Hope so. Bai wasn't sure. The Wings race have a poor soul cultivation. He will find out that Han Long has been dead, but he cannot know who has killed him. I hope he will not know the cause of Han Long's death. Otherwise, not only will you get trouble, but also will our tribe have to suffer his anger. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The sound of flapping wings suddenly came up from a distance from behind the Sound Beast Mountain. This time, there were many flapping sounds in the air, which meant that many people of the Wings race were coming. Go, quick! Bai's face changed. She held Shiryen and flew away, heading towards the giant stone ancient city. Chapter 243. Give me a reason, _ Many Grey Wings clan's people quickly appeared where Shiryen and Bai had just left. After arriving, a group of them looked around from east to west, seeming to search for something. One of them took out a dark green crystal pearl and extracted a drop of blood onto that ball. The crystal pearl slowly emitted a green ray of light. Many beams of Han Long's spirit aura gathered from the scattering ashes in the air and went into the pearl. The face of the guy from the Grey Wings clan changed dramatically and said, Han Long is dead. All of Grey Wings clan's people there crazily roared all together and quickly scattered to search for the murderer. Behind the Sound Beast Mountain, in the Grey Wings clan's territory, there were many strange wooden huts on ancient tree trunks. The Grey Wings clan's people were cultivating inside those huts. Behind a big ancient tree trunk was a ravine overwhelmed with howling winds. Inside that ravine, an elderly man of the Grey Wings clan whose appearance similar to Han Long's was silently watching an appealing figure who was sitting in the middle of the shrieking winds. His cold eyes sparked lustful look. The figure with the sexy body was full of dense wind aura, and she was wearing a red fire armor. She was sitting in the middle of the ravine. A lot of the wind forces were quickly gathering, becoming the restorative medicine for her martial spirit inside of her body. It elated her mind and enlightened her glowing face. Miss He, you have cultivated very well. The wind forces of the Heaven Wind Valley are adamant. Normally, only I can cultivate it. Now I give it to you. The elderly man of the Grey Wings clan fixed his torchlighting eyes on that beautiful body for a long while and mumbled, "You are the gift from heaven. The wind martial spirit in your body is the best thing for me to cultivate the wind forces successfully. Wait until you gather enough the wind forces. I will take it to improve my cultivation realm, exceeding the other two guys." Inside the ravine, the wind forces were wrapping He Ching Man's body. Her beautiful eyes slowly opened, glancing at the elderly man over there, and then closing again right away. Her face displayed a dreary look. Tinkling, tinkling. A strange sound suddenly resounded from the chest of the elderly man. He winced and hauled a dark green crystal pearl from his chest, and then annoyedly asked, "What happened?" young master is dead." The crystal pearl transmitted a hasty, anxious voice. "What?" The elderly man's face suddenly changed with green veins prominently bulging. He looked very furious. He irritatingly shouted, "Say it again. Young master is dead. His soul has scattered. Please spare my life, master. We did not know why it happened." The voice from the crystal pearl was anxiously worried. The elderly man of the Grey Wings clan could not bear it anymore. He raised his head up to the sky, deliriously shouting. Wailing wind and furious energy gathered all together, going into the crystal pearl. The crystal pearl projected dazzling green rays of light all of a sudden. The green light continually condensed, forming an image. Numerous green fibers sketched out Yan's frigid face in that green image. The more energy that poured in, the clearer Yan's appearance became. "Humankind!" The elderly man shouted out loud. Sharp winds burst strongly, pulling up all the surrounding ancient trees' trunks and scattering wooden pieces in the air. He Ching Man could sense his aggressive movements. She couldn't help but open her eyes, seeing Yan's face sketched out by the green lights in the cave. Her eyes flared up in astonished look, and she almost shouted. She quickly closed her eyes, pretending to see nothing. "He Ching Man, do you know this humankind?" The elderly man of the Grey Wings clan breathed heavily, his bold face turned towards He Ching Man and shouted. Opening her eyes again, He Ching Man attentively gazed at Yan's illusory image appearing in a green light screen for a while before speaking. "He is our target. We have entered the chasm battlefield to hunt him down. I don't know where he is now. My group has separated since we have arrived here, and no one knows of one another's location. I will make him wish to be dead than alive." The elderly man took a deep breath. He now looked like an irritated beast roaring terrifyingly. "How can you survive now?" He Ching Man beamed out a miserable smile, slightly shaking her head, starting to worry for Yan's life. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. A beautiful figure dragging a person along was quickly dashing towards the giant ancient stone city. "See you, bye." A great shout suddenly came up from inside of the giant ancient stone city. "Father!" ECU Bai screamed out in surprise. She slowed down her speed, approaching the direction of her father. "Do you feel the strange things of the Sound Beast Mountain?" Tian Mo nodded, his ashy gray eyes flared up a strange light. "See you, Bai, has this little rascal captured any beasts?" "He has killed 3 child devils," ECU Bai said. "What?" Tian Mo's face changed but then quickly turned back to normal. He looked at ECU Bai for a while before asking, finally, "What has happened?" "His body has the heaven flame. He also killed the son of the Grey Wings clan's leader," ECU Bai said with a miserable smile. The Tian Mo's skinny body slightly shivered. His terrified look was hard to cover up. He helplessly looked at Yan with a shocked face. "The heaven flame, I can't believe it is the heaven man." After mumbling for a moment, Tian Mo suddenly dragged a strange half-smile out of his mouth. "Yan, I can't believe you have the heaven flame." "That's very good, father," ECU Bai shouted loudly. "Don't kill him, he has saved my life. Without him, the child devils could have killed me." ECU Bai understood her father very well. Tian Mo hadn't said nor smiled earlier, but once he showed that strange smiley face, it meant that he wanted to kill someone. No need to mention that he has saved your life. Even if he saved mine, he still must die. Tian smiled while shaking his head. His ashy gray eyes stared at Shiryan. His existence put the entire demonic Sound clan into a deadly danger. We have been deported to this place where we don't have any icy secret treasures to defend ourselves. Once he reaches the level where he is not afraid of our soul attacks anymore, he is the genuine danger for the demonic Sound clan. You cannot kill me. Shiryan vigorously shouted all of a sudden. What? Tianmo's face had a strange cheerful look. His eyes became darkened. Tell me, what reason do you have that stops me from killing you? I know you are smart. You will not again mention that you have saved my daughter. I can help you deal with the Sound beasts. This reason is not enough. Your existence is more dangerous than the Sound beasts. The Sound Beast Mountain has changed, and thus many Sound Beasts might run out of the Sound Beast Mountain, including the Child Devils. They can destroy the demonic Sound clan. Shiryan frowned and said, if we hide inside the ancient city, the Sound Beasts can hardly do anything. They will return to the Sound Beast Mountain after a while. You cannot convince me. Tianmo continued shaking his head. The cheerful face remained unchanged. The formation technique on the Sound Beast Mountain has weakened. There will be a significant change. This time, the Sound Beasts on the Sound Beast Mountain will be probably more aggressive than before. Bai could not help but scream. Father, let's wait for a while. Let's see the commotions of the Sound Beasts. If we keep him alive, we can have solutions to deal with the Sound Beasts. This reason is still not enough. Tianmo continued shaking his head. The cheerful face was still there. The murderous intention wasn't gone yet. I can help you deal with the other leaders of the demonic Sound clan. I have heard that there are another 2 leaders like you. Think again. If you control me and keep me alive, you will have incredible support to oppress the other 2 leaders. Shiryan suddenly became lucid. He immediately opened his mouth just right before Tianmo took actions. The cheerful look on Tianmo's face disappeared. His eyes flared up many strange rays of light. He was deep in thought with the somber face, considering the pros and cons. Not long after that, Tianmo nodded his head and said, I provisionally shall not kill you, but you cannot let any other people see the heaven flame at any cost. Understood. Shiryan hastily nodded. Swoosh. Not far from there, some figures were flying over, breaking the speed barrier in the air. There appeared that many people of the demonic Sound clan were approaching the Sound Beast Mountain's direction from the ancient city. See you bye. You bring him back first, I'll go to the Sound Beast Mountain. Tianmo knitted his eyebrows while instructing his daughter. Bai nodded, grabbing Shiryan and quickly walking towards the ancient city. On the way, Shiryan quietly observed everywhere and realized that many high-level warriors of the demonic Sound clan were advancing towards Sound Beast Mountain. The 2 flows of soul movements among those warriors were too powerful that even Shiryan had to be frightened. These 2 flows of soul movements flashed up and quickly disappeared from Shiryan's soul consciousness. The 2 leaders, Kaba and Yimeng, are also going there. Bai explained to Shiryan. They are like my father, the leaders of the demonic Sound clan. They are very dangerous. The abnormality of the Sound Beast Mountain has apparently astounded them as well. Are they running towards the Sound Beast Mountain? Are they not afraid of being attacked by the Sound Beasts? Asked Shiryan, a bit surprised. Both Kaba and Yimeng have very high-level cultivation base. Except for the high-level Child Devils, almost none of the Sound Beasts can hurt them. If they want to run, even the Child Devils cannot catch them. Bai replied. Understood. In the giant stone ancient city. Inside an imposing structural building, Chao Jilan, Gu Linglong, Chu Yanqing, Panja and other warriors were confined in a secret chamber. Yimeng's guards regularly came and took a single warrior away each time. Not long afterward, a mournful voice could be heard from a chamber next door. At this moment, Chao Jilan and Panja, the new outstanding talents of the Endless Sea, were wearing gloomy faces and losing their previous proud look. Chao Jilan, your spirit god martial spirit can't deactivate the soul formation technique? A warrior of the Pinglai Divine asked Chao Jilan with a hopeless face. Chao Jilan was sitting cross-legged. She slightly shook her head and reluctantly said, "The soul knowledge of this pagan tribe is much more developed than ours. If there is any change in my spirit god martial spirit, they can immediately sense and respond to it. Not to mention that my soul is in confinement. Even if it was not, I would not dare to use it." "So, we just wait here to die?" this warrior mumbled. "Currently, I do not have any solutions. However, Yan has not been captured. He might have solutions. Anyway, his body has some special powers. Maybe he can survive here." Him, Panja, Gu Linglong, and Chu Yanqing all surprisingly screamed out with astonished faces. Chapter 244, Five Devils Condensation Refining, _ In a big stone chamber with dim light, Yan held his breath and meditated. His eyes sparked a subtle electric light which looked splendidly bright in the dark stone room. When his fingers gently fondled the blood vein ring, his spirit was immersed in it. The world inside there gradually appeared within his mind. As he spread out his mind, he felt that the blood vein ring seemed endless, quiet, empty, and immense. In this strange space, there were three particular areas. One was so cold that it could freeze one's marrow. One was sweltering and dazzling, while the rest was unpredictably extraordinary. The ice-cold flame, the earth flame, and the giant fire crystal sword stayed in three separate areas, being tied up by the blood vein ring inside of its anomalous space. Dubious gray hazes surrounded the ice-cold flame, preventing it from releasing the ice powers. Even when Yan's spirit called for it, the ice-cold flame had no strange reaction. Opposite to the scorching, dazzling light, the miraculous soul appeared clearer. After having obtained the sun power of the sun-refined spirit, the earth flame was going through a fast transformation. Its soul gradually formed and had a self-controlled consciousness. When Yan's spirit concentrated on the other area, and his consciousness went through many layers of obstacles, he realized that the earth flames area was full of burning fires and flooded with light and terrifying heat. If it wasn't because of the sun power that had tempered his body and soul, nor the scorching sun power inside his consciousness, his soul consciousness could have been burnt to ashes already. The burning fires burst up, radiating dazzling light and releasing great heat as if it had to burn everything down completely. You come here." Suddenly, a fragile stream of consciousness slowly went into Yan's spirit from those fires. In the dark stone chamber, Yan's eyes shot out the electric light, his body slightly shivered. The earth flame sent out a complete message for the first time. It meant that its form would be shaped for real in a short period. It also meant that from now, it was able to communicate conveniently with him like the ice-cold flame. Finally you can send out a clear message. That's superb. No need to rush, continue cultivating. You and I can have a real conservation soon." Yan beamed out a smile from the corner of his mouth and gently fondled the blood vein ring, sending out his message. I will quickly transform to be like it." The earth flame's voice was like a baby practicing to speak. Although it was not fluent, Yan still could understand it. "Good, I am waiting for that day." Inside the blood vein ring, the earth flame's spirit violently vibrated in the middle of the burning fires. When Yan's spirit observed inside of the blood vein ring, he could see each thin stream of burning fires twisted and condensed, weaving into a mysterious magnetic field. Burning fire fibers like human brain nerves became the life source of the earth flame. After having received Yan's consciousness, the life of the earth flame twisted and refined faster through some miraculous ways. Each thread of the fire stream of souls was like a lively animal, dancing inside of the magnetic field and emitting fire power that made people's souls trembled. Yan's mood was very good while he slowly retrieved his consciousness. Although he could not communicate with the ice-cold flame, the earth flame's transformation made him very happy. With the current transforming speed, the earth flame would have a complete form in no time, turning into the heaven flame like the ice-cold flame. After finishing this step, the earth flame would be considered the genuine heaven flame. Absorbing the sun power of the sun-refined spirit had apparently helped its transformation. Inside the dark stone chamber, Yan was sitting cross-legged and breathing regularly. He was in deep thought. A moment later, he sent his spirit into the blood vein ring again to observe the huge sword's hilt in the blood vein ring. The gigantic sword was like a brilliant fire crystal. There were many closing evil eyes on the sword. The sword hilt had lost all its former splendid power since it had entered the blood vein ring. It did not release any special powers. The former attacking power that easily destroyed the other's souls also completely disappeared. The gigantic sword hovered about in the blood vein ring. It seemed to have turned to a regular big sword. Yan's spirit observed for a while but still could not find anything special. His consciousness could hardly connect with the sword. He wanted to take the gigantic sword's hilt out of the blood vein ring to observe it carefully, but he realized that he could not do so. Although he had worn the blood vein ring on his finger, he still did not have a profound understanding about this ring nor command the blood vein ring until now. He realized that he was always in a passive mode with the blood vein ring and let the blood vein ring lead him around by the nose. He didn't like this feeling but could do nothing. A ray of light flashed up from a corner of the blood vein ring. The light was not dazzling nor as glowing as the earth flame's light. Yan had wanted to retrieve his spirit out of the blood vein ring before detecting the existence of the light as well as layer upon layer of forces of the formation technique from that light. While being shocked, Yan suddenly remembered that after having entered the earth realm, he hadn't continued to break the protection wall of the blood vein ring. Inside of the blood vein ring had a peculiar memory soul. Both the rampage martial technique and the life and death seal came from the blood vein ring. Every time the forces in his body increased to a specific level, he would receive a beneficial martial technique from the blood vein ring. After contemplating for a while, Yan retrieved the spirit from the blood vein ring. In the stone chamber, Yan quietly hauled out the refined pill, swallowed it, and started to restore his profound qi. After regulating for a long time, until he felt his energy peaked, he suddenly launched powers. The massive profound qi like a flood-breaking dikes poured into the blood vein ring aggressively and became a powerful light beam. With its highest speed, it went straight to the hard protection wall inside of the blood vein ring. Thud! An echoing sound from inside of the blood vein ring came out. The solid protection wall shattered into pieces all of a sudden. A wave of memory with different symbols dispersed out from behind that protection wall like a surging tide, jumping into Yan's sea of consciousness and becoming a memory engraving on his brain without being removed easily. A bunch of strange symbols in his head congregated and formed a strange heaven formation. This formation could gather the negative feelings which were the 5 devils in the sea of mind. The sea of consciousness churned up. These strange symbols slowly flew up in there, causing some abnormal changes. At the same time, Yan's body slightly trembled. The negative feelings from the meridians of his entire body started to be uncontrollable, spreading out vigorously and assembling in the sea of consciousness. The soul consciousness gathering in the sea of consciousness was stirred up. Strange symbols from the blood vein ring started to absorb the soul consciousness forces in the sea of consciousness and engraved on Yan's spirit. Gradually, those symbols turned to be 5 tiny transparent figures whose appearances were exactly identical to Yan's. Each of those dwarves was immersed in the sea of consciousness, absorbing the power in the sea of consciousness. Yan's living aura gradually developed inside of the transparent dwarves as if they were given some life seal. Inside the dark stone chamber, Yan's eyes were sparkling like twinkling stars in the sky. Different uncontrollable negative feelings spread out and then flew towards the sea of consciousness very fast. Those flows of negative emotions rolled into the 5 transparent dwarves. Despair, fear, bloodshed, greed, and resentment were 5 different kinds of feelings. Once they poured into the sea of consciousness, they immediately dispersed. The 5 feelings divided into 5 flows which were like separated long fibers going into each different transparent dwarf. Yan was sitting motionlessly and suffering everything passively. After the 5 feelings of despair, fear, bloodshed, greed, and resentment poured into these 5 transparent dwarves, the dwarves' appearances gradually transformed. The skin of the dwarf with despair became dark blue, His shoulders started to be covered with pangolin scales. 2 extra arms grew from underneath of his 2 original arms. The dwarf absorbing fear grew a peculiar sharp horn. His 2 eyes became a strange silver white. The dwarf with bloodshed had blazing red eyes, an angry face, and a long thin fang growing out from the 2 corners of his mouth. The dwarf absorbing greed closed his 2 legs while a tail grew behind him at his waist. The eyes of the resentment dwarf became deep blue and cold. The black veins wrapped its entire body. Its nails were like sharp knives. Different uncontrollable emotions flooded into the sea of consciousness and poured into the 5 dwarves. After that, the 5 dwarves slowly transformed, becoming more and more devilish with full of the wicked aura covering their bodies, making other spirits frightened and panic. Serene did not know what had happened, he just could passively accept everything. He then gradually realized that although his living energy had been instilled into the 5 dwarves in the sea of consciousness, they became more and more different from him and almost identical with the phantom which he had condensed and refined by making use of the negative forces. Serene was frightened. Devil of despair, devil of fear, devil of bloodshed, devil of greed, and the devil of resentment. The 5 dwarves' appearances became more and more ferocious. From each flow of his bobbing consciousness in the sea of consciousness, the ancient symbols appeared again, went into the 5 dwarves' bodies, flaring up and then disappearing right away. It seemed to check and identify these 5 dwarves. Those devils were condensed and refined by the negative feelings. Serene's body was agitated. A stream of spirit light appeared in his head. For a moment, different kinds of profound Upanishads related to the formation technique of the 5 devils in the sea of mind started to respond from the 5 dwarves. These Upanishads also poured into Serene's head, becoming a part of his memory. In a blink, Serene seemed to master everything about these 5 dwarves. He had found a way to control them and figured out exactly how to use them. All kinds of negative feelings kept flowing out nonstop from inside the end, quickly pouring into the 5 dwarves. After they had received the feelings of despair, bloodshed, fear, greed, and resentment, the ferocious auras on their bodies were getting stronger and stronger that could violently intimidate other spirits. "Get out!" Serene shouted out loud. The 5 dwarves in the sea of consciousness instantly disappeared. Right after that, 5 illusory 10-meter-tall devil images reappeared behind Serene. These were the 5 devils of despair, bloodshed, fear, greed, and resentment in his sea of consciousness. Chapter 245, He is Very Special. Rome. Outside the giant stone ancient city, in a thick immense forest, growls of sound beasts resounded regularly. A bunch of demonic sound clans people complacently stayed inside the city, did not dare to go out because they were afraid of being attacked by the beasts outside. In the past few days, sound beasts in Sound Beast Mountain all got out of the mountain because the control style had been weakened, which messed up everything around. Among sound beasts, there were even demon children at the 6th or 7th level. Demon Child could be said to be the natural enemy of Demonic Sound Clan. Demon Child's existence threatened each member of Demonic Sound Clan to the max. Once hearing the bitter cry of the Demon Child, they felt frightened out of their wits immediately. In the giant stone ancient city, on the old dark gray lava rock wall, there were full of drawings of different beasts. Each radiant stone was encrusted into the wall, emitted sparkling lights. This big city was covered by a powerful energy. This flow of energy always existed, just like big powerful waves strongly affected sound beasts. The control style, shelter, covered the ancient city, prevented all sound beasts outside. Sound beasts only stayed outside howling, did not dare to invade the ancient city. On the wall of ancient city, Mo was wearing a blue tunic standing straight. His face was thoughtful, looking out far away, together with the other 2 leaders Yimeng and Kaba of Demonic Sound Clan. Ecu Bai and Yaji were behind the 3 leaders, Mo, Yimeng, Kaba. They also seriously looked out. Outside the city, sound beasts' growls and shrieks resounded nonstop. Dark hovered without dispersing. All kinds of sound beasts surrounded the ancient city waiting for something. Three leaders standing on top of the castle frowned and discussed with a low tone. They did not seem optimistic. "See you bye. Where's the human warrior you have captured?" Yaji was holding some green pearls, stolidly asked. Inside those pearls, there were light-moving souls. The pearls collided to one another in his hand, often flashed out a little of strange soul energy. "How is it related to you?" ECU knitted her brows slightly, did not want to answer him, turned back glancing at another girl nearby, and asked, "Shuefei, your father is very familiar with Sound Beast Mountain. Your people often go to Sound Beast Mountain recently. Do you know why the control style of the Sound Beast Mountain has been weakened?" Shuefei is the sole daughter of the leader Kaba, with glowing snow-white skin, picturesque eyelashes, deep eyes, was also an exceptional pretty girl of demonic Sound Clan. "I don't know. The control style keeps getting weaker incomprehensibly. This time it is really strange. Many demon children have got out of the Sound Beast Mountain, but they still lingered here without dispersing. Eventually, what do they want to do?" Shuefei shook her head, showing that she did not know. "See you bye. That human warrior is a little dangerous. You should exchange him to me." The pearls in Yaji's hand collided constantly. Soul energy circulated inside those pearls. These God pearls have been refined from those warrior souls by a secret method. They are very useful for our soul cultivation. If you give him to me, these God pearls are yours. "Yaji, since when do you become so generous?" Shuefei was curious, opened her eyes and asked surprisingly, "Just because of one human warrior, you can exchange these pearls. Is he very special?" "Warriors who I have captured came here to deal with that guy. Unexpectedly, he is not scared. He seems to have some secrets. Humph, I think he is special." Shuefei noticed that Siyubai did not want to exchange. She guessed Siyubai might also know something special about Shiryen. She wanted to clarify more. "Is it so, Siyubai? You have captured him for long. You should have realized something special about him." "There is nothing to discover," Siyubai coldly said. Yaji smiled, obviously did not believe her. "Let's do this. You come to my place. I can let you choose 5 human warriors. I use those 5 warriors to exchange for that guy. What do you think?" "Yaji, you are so annoying." Isiyubai's face was uncomfortable. Yaji coldly snorted. His eyes became frigid, clearly unhappy. "Roam, roam." At this moment, Sound Beast's crazy howls resounded from far deep of the forest outside the ancient city. Swoosh, swoosh. A birdman with 5 or 6 meter long gray wings, being attacked by Sound Beasts, flapped his wings shrieking and flying away. Sound Beasts surrounding aggressively attacked, but Elder of Grey Wings clan was not frightened. His body projected dazzling wind blades, which Sound Beasts had to ward off. Under pressure of Sound Beasts, this Elder of Grey Wings clan still dared to enter the ancient city of demonic Sound Clan, walking arrogantly. The control style's shelter on ancient city's walls of demonic Sound Clan shrank strangely when his figure appeared. Let him enter the ancient city freely. "Duo Longji, what brings you here?" Yimeng, head was full of white hair, held his head up to the sky laughing, clasping his hands towards Grey Wings clan's master in a distance. "We are discussing if we should visit Grey Wings clan. Unexpectedly, Duo Longji already come here first. That is very good." Tianmo's ashy gray eyes flashed up worried, secretly glanced at ECU by signaling. ECU was talking to Yaji, Shuefei. Suddenly her eyes changed strangely, nodded her head slightly without letting anyone notice, spoke to Shuefei, "Yaji, I have something to do, I should go now." Upon her words, without waiting for Yaji's, Shuefei's reaction, her subtle body gently swayed and disappeared in a blink. The master of Grey Wings clan, Duolong's eyes was murderous, stared at Yimeng, Tianmo, Kaba shouting, "I've heard you have captured some human beings." "That's right." Yimeng's face looked astonished. Previously, some human beings appeared in the forest near here without any known reasons. They have been captured and confined. Why do Duolongji also pay attention to these human beings? Why your Grey Wings clan also want to use humankind's soul to cultivate something? Bring out all those warriors here, I want to look for someone. Duolong's eyes were like a ferocious poisonous snake, extremely malignant. Hanlong, my son, has been killed by a human being. I want to crush his bones into ashes, make him suffer all painful tortures. What? Yimeng, Kaba, Mo could not help yelling. Their faces were extremely frightened. Okay, I know what to do. Yimeng nodded his head, understood this was important, turned to Yaji, said, bring all human warriors here. Yaji bent his body, leaving quickly. Mo, I have heard you've also captured one human warrior. Should you also? Yimeng looked at Mo, Feng, you go back and bring that human out here. Mo did not say too much, looked towards the guy not far from him, commanded. Feng also quickly left. Duolong Ji, does Grey Wings clan area over there also have sound beasts everywhere? Kaba suddenly asked. Only your area is serious. Sound beasts levels are very low in our area, easily to be wiped out. Duolong's face was cold. It seemed he did not want to talk about anything before taking his revenge. Kaba wanted to ask something, but seeing his cold face, he smirked and stopped asking. Yimeng, Mo did not say anything more, waited silently with strange faces. Not long after, Yaji and other guys of Demonic Sound Clan used some beasts to pull along a big cage with Chao Jilan, Panja, and others inside. Chao Jilan, Gu Linglong, Panja, Qi Yangqing sat at a corner of the cage. Their faces changed constantly, quietly observed Demonic Sound Clan and Duolong of Grey Wings clan, worrying. In these few days, their men had been taken away one by one and disappeared completely. They also understood Yaji's people had already killed those men who had been taken away. Although Chao Jilan did not dare to use spiritual martial soul, she still vaguely knew those men's souls had been extracted from their bodies, refined into special cultivation medicine for Demonic Sound Clan. After Chao Jilan released her discovery, all others were full of despair, started to regret entering the Abyss battlefield to killing Mu, Shiyan, not letting it go, everything. Duolong's eyes were resentful. He cast his eyes over and over, shaking his head nonstop. A deep blue-green crystal ball suddenly emerged in Duolong's palm. Duolong slightly flipped his hand. Each green light circle irradiated from the crystal ball. In the middle of green lights, Shiyan's appearance like an illusion upside down in the water gradually appeared. Shiyan, Chao Jilan, Panja, Gu Linglong, Qi Yanqing, those who were kept inside the cage, had full of fear in their eyes and shaken spirits, immediately knew who Duolong was looking for, the one who put them into this desperate situation. That's him. Yaji also shouted. Who? Duolong clenched his teeth. The guy who has been captured by Siyu Bai, I used to meet him before. Facing Duolong's cold eyes, Yaji did not dare to lie, quickly said, he is a little special. Those people who I have captured came to this place because of pursuing him. Many people united still could not kill him. Mo. Duolong's body suddenly projected very sharp energy. He shouted and screamed out angrily. Hurry to bring that guy to me. In Mo's ashy gray eyes, each ashy gray line emerged clearer. A strange flow of soul exploded in his head and sudden, profound qi quickly gathered in his body running rapidly through his veins. He was ready to deal with Duolong. I have already told Feng to bring him out. Mo took precautions. His face was cold, said, he would be brought here in no time. Duolong, you should not be too agitated. Okay, I hope your man can bring that guy here, otherwise, don't blame me not to have mercy. Duolong's eyes were wide open. He slowly nodded his head. Chapter 246. History Repeated. On the wall of the ancient city, Duolong's body was full of murderous pressure. His eyes contained maximum resentment, waiting quietly. 3 people, Kaba, Yimeng, and Mo, stayed beside cautiously, did not say anything. Many people of Demonic Sound Clan did not even breathe hard, stood straight, did not dare to look at Duolong. General strength of Wings race was more powerful than Demonic Sound Clan. Recently, when fighting with Wings race, if it was not because of the internal conflict inside Wings race, demonic Sound Clan might have had been conquered already. Wings Race's build was strong, profound chi was large and powerful, plus they were not afraid of the invasion from demonic Sound Clan Soul. They have a gifted advantage when fighting with demonic Sound Clan. Duolong was the master of Grey Wings Clan. Although Grey Wings Clan's strength was not as strong as Black Wings Clan and White Wings Clan, they were very combative. Grey Wings Clan of Duolong was the main force who exhorted demonic Sound Clan's enslavement. Therefore, Duolong of Grey Wings Clan was hated the most by demonic Sound Clan's people, also made them frightened the most. Duolong coming here was a shake for 3 people: Kaba, Yimeng, Etianimo. For the rest of demonic Sound Clan, Duolong could be considered a deadly murderer, didn't know what he would bring up. In the cage, Chao Zilan's eyes were transparent, sweeping Duolong's body one time, quietly stared at the crystal ball in Duolong's hand, astonished. She did not know what guilt Shiryen had done to Duolong after all, but looking at Duolong's face, she was afraid that Shiryen would receive bad news more than good news this time. It was indeed not a just game this time. Chao Zilan reluctantly sighed inside. She had hoped that Shiryen could attack demonic Sound Clan so that she had a chance to escape the sole confinement of demonic Sound Clan. But Duolong coming here caused Yen to become a target for everyone. Now everyone considered him a thorn in their eyes. After all, what did he do? Chao Zilan could imagine soon Shiryen would be brought in being confined, suffered painful tortures by Duolong so much that he would rather be dead than alive, and would be dead before them. Xu Yanqing, Panja were in the cage, also had the same thought. Suddenly, Yifeng's figure appeared from a far distance. Not even having arrived the place, Yifeng screamed out, "Great Commander, that guy has escaped. Don't know when he has left the city, he should be outside of the city already." What? Etianmo couldn't help but scream. Which direction? Duolong shouted stridently. Over there. Yifeng pointed towards outside the city. Etianmo, hope it was not you who did it. Wait until I arrest him, I will question him. Duolong's body plunged furiously in the air. If I know you did it, don't blame me for having no mercy. Upon his words, Duolong quickly flew out. Yimeng, Kaba, Etianmo and other high-level warriors of demonic Sound Clan, all astonished for a while, flew towards Duolong's direction to another wall. On another wall of the ancient city, Yimeng, Kaba, Etianmo, Yaji and demonic Sound Clan's people looked ahead in a distance with strange faces. Each flock of sound beasts surrounded that area in the forest. A 6th-level demon child kept shrieking, seemed to gather more sound beats. Counting up, there were not less than 1,000 of sound beasts, which was extremely dense, like a cloud of mosquitoes gathering. Behind a large number of sound beasts, dazzling lights were emitted. Looking from far, it was possible to see many high-level warriors of Wings race, with long wings fighting with sound beats aggressively. A flow of red burning fire like a lightning zoomed towards the numerous sound beasts. Closely following the red burning fire was Duolong, who was full of wind blades stirring in the air with his wide-open eyes and his teeth shown, held his head up to the sky laughing. Burning fire is really strong. That guy is the one whom you have captured. Kaba stared at Burning Fire's figure, carefully observed for a while, his face suddenly changed. That's not right. This burning fire is not the ordinary one. It's not. This is Heaven Flame. This is Heaven Flame. Etianmo, you did well. Etianmo's eyes flared up bright lights. His body slightly swayed a while, miserably said, I did not know. You didn't know? Yimeng's face was suspicious. That guy's body has your soul confinement seal. If you put the control style on his body, how could you not know the secrets on his body? Etianmo, you're really not scared of playing with fire, which would burn you to death in the end. You yourself are the leader, you didn't know the danger of Heaven Flame to our whole clan. I really didn't know this moron could have Heaven Flame. Etianmo shook his head. But don't worry, Duolong has gone there. Not to bother about this moron having Heaven Flame or not, he cannot hide from Duolong's deadly strike. Things are turning out to be like this, no need to be worried too much. When Etion was talking, Siu Bai's body reappeared quietly below the wall of the ancient city. You still claim it was not related to you. Kaba's face was cold. Perhaps you even already knew that Moron had killed Duolong's son. If not, you would not have let Siu Bai free him. Etion, do you know what you are doing? When Duolong arrests that Moron and interrogates him, even after killing him, he still can hunt you down to take revenge. You know Duolong's personality well. Why did you do that? I don't know what you are talking about. Etion's face was still unchanged. Even if Duolong really wants to find me to take revenge, it's not related to you. Why do you care so much? Very good. Kaba's face was cold, towards Etion nodding his head, suddenly seemed to understand something, burst into laughter. I understood. I did understand now. Etion. It turns out you already had some intention for us. Haha, Heaven Flame is Demonic Sound Clan's nemesis. You want to use the guy to control me and Yimeng? Finally, I understood. Yimeng's face changed, also slowly nodded his head. So, that's it. Etion, your plan sounds very good. Regretfully, Duolong came here and ruined it. You definitely did not think Duolong could know who has killed his son. That's how your plan went wrong. You guys surely have the gift of speculation. Etion shook his head, his face unchanged. You will regret. Kaba smiled faintly. Yimeng's face was also frigid, obviously extremely discontented with what Etion had done, seemed secretly to have some forethought to deal with Etion. A flow of burning fire spread out from his body. Shiryen turned to be a rocket, accelerated towards Sound Beast's gathering area. After Siu Bai told Shiryen that Duolong had come, Shiryen harumphed, ran out of the city with the speed of light. When he had killed Han Long, because he had wanted to prevent the opponent's father from knowing it, he had also killed the other 2 warriors who accompanied Han Long, killed all 3 of them. He had thought the enemy would have not found out if he had cleaned up everything. But he was wrong. So, he could only hide. He knew his advantage, he had Heaven Flame, he was not afraid of Sound Beasts. Therefore, the place where Sound Beasts gathered was the place for him to hide. Sound Beast Mountain. He knew from Siu Bai there was a large strong shelter in Sound Beast Mountain. This shelter was isolated from Sound Beast Mountain. Even the 3 leaders of Wing's race could not remove the shelter. Inside Sound Beast Mountain, there were full of Sound Beasts. The world was really strong. Except Sound Beasts, ordinary people's power would decrease if passing by. He only needed to arrive Sound Beast Mountain. With Heaven Flame inside his body, he was not afraid of Sound Beast's attack. Heaven Flame could burn everything, perhaps even the shelter in the mountain could also be destroyed. Sound Beast Mountain was dangerous for other people, but it was the place which saved him from Duolong's pursuit. Boiling burning fire in his body, Shiryen urged electric shift, his body like a flashing light, quickly dashed towards the place Sound Beasts gathering. Almost 1,000 of Sound Beasts gathering over there surrounded more than 10 people of Black Wings clan and White Wings clan. Among those Sound Beasts, there were some at the 6th or 7th level. Was emitted everywhere from these Sound Beasts, creating a layer of gray cloud that could be seen. Shiryen was like a rocket, shot straight towards those Sound Beasts that were gathering there. Each flow of was like black rolling cloud moving. The hit his face. Shiryen inhaled a deep breath, quickly felt more comfortable. His mind became extremely conscious. His eyes were full of surprise, carefully perceiving for a while. Shiryen's body slightly shivered. His face was full of joy. 3 meridians on his chest created a whirlpool which quietly circulated. The whirlpool's movement was clearly related to the nearby When the whirlpool moved, his body started to actively absorb gathering At the same time, a whirl quietly formed on top of his head. Right at the time that whirl appeared, it immediately projected a violent power. The nearby like a gray cloud was gravitated by the whirl, all became the supplement for the whirl, made it bigger and bigger. Mysterious spell. This special martial technique came from the 3 God sect. It was useful to take the concentrated world If using mysterious spell in a heavy area, it would automatically form a whirl absorbing the world Een of that area and turn to Een God Pearl inside Een Whirlpool. That year in Een Exhaustion Land, he had used Mysterious Een's spell to resist Een Air. When unintentionally urging Mysterious Een's spell, he had absorbed completely the world Een in Een Exhaustion Land. That scene was still very clear. Currently seeing the transformation of Een Whirlpool, a whirl formed on top of his head, Serene suddenly felt it could happen again. He hovered still in the air, burning fire hovered inside his body, but there was a whirl refined by Een flying on top of his head. The center of the whirl emitted powerful gravity, aggressively gathered Een from everywhere. This area, more than 1,000 of sound beasts had already recognized some strange changes in the world, staring at Serene resentfully. From the wall of the ancient city far away, 3 people Kaba, Yimeng, Etian-Mo also could not believe what was happening, looked towards Serene's place with eyes and mouth open. Chapter 247. Bad things turned out to be good. Een Chi condensation refining, Een condensation formed power. What is happening? I don't know. However, that guy is obviously a human being. How can he have the ability like the one of Sound Beast to gather Een for cultivation? Furthermore, his Een gathering speed is even several times faster than Sound Beast's. Humankind cannot have these powers. Even demonic Sound Clan cannot aggregate Een power that fast. Our bodies cannot suffer that much Een power. After all, who is that guy? The 3 leaders of demonic Sound Clan all got frightened with their astounded eyes wide open. They confusingly discussed together. At the place where Sound Beasts were gathering, a middle-aged man of Black Wings Clan with black wings and a peculiar outward appearance was standing shoulder to shoulder with a beautiful elderly lady of White Wings Clan who had snow-white wings. From a distance, they were looking at Serene, whose body was immersing in burning fire. Een whirl emerged on top of his head. Dishan, the thing emitted from that guy's body is truly the heaven flame? The beautiful elderly lady with snow-white wings had a soft melodious voice. It is the heaven flame. Dishan, the patriarch of Black Wings Clan replied, a strange light lit up in his peculiar eyes. First, the control style has weakened. Now there appears a guy who possesses heaven flame. Perhaps we can get out of this place this time. Yuro, we have to prevent that combative duolong. I have recognized this human lad has heaven flame. According to Duolong, he should be the one who has killed Han Long. Yeah, we have to deter him. We cannot let anything happen with this little rascal. Yuro, the matriarch of White Wings Clan, slightly nodded her head. Dishan, the patriarch of the Black Wings Clan, and Yuro, the matriarch of the White Wings Clan, discussed with each other before quickly leaving. Many high-level warriors of Black Wings Clan and White Wings Clan were currently dealing with Sound Beast siege at the same place where Dishan and Yuro had just left. However, it was not too difficult for them to defeat those beasts. The number of high-level warriors of Black Wings Clan and White Wings Clan was much more than that of Grey Wings Clan. They were all outstanding experienced warriors, bravely coming here from behind the Sound Beast Mountain. Their capability in fighting with Sound Beast was extremely tremendous. Even though they encountered the attack of Sound Beasts, as well as had no support from Yuro and Dishan, they were still very composed. Kaba of Demonic Sound Clan with a contemplating face seemed to consider very carefully before saying, we need to go over there to see. This little rascal is very special. Maybe he is the key for us to get out of this damn place. That's right, this guy cannot be dead. If he dies, perhaps we will never be able to get out. After Serene had released Heaven Flame and implemented the black formula to gather Heaven and Earth's Een, Yimeng's attitude changed dramatically. He started to defend Serene's life. You aren't afraid of the danger of Heaven Flame to our whole tribe now, are you? Etian-Mo secretly smiled. This guy's cultivation is only in the Earth realm. We can still control him. Wait until we get out of this *TTY place. We will handle him. Kaba coldly said. Isn't it so? Etian-Mo smiled. I know. Everyone is curious about the way he gathers Een. Anyway, we, Demonic Sound Clan, have a big connection with Een. If we can have his method of condensation, it is indeed an outstanding improvement for our tribe. This is an important thing of our tribe, Kaba said with a low tone. So, what are we waiting for? We should go now. If Dolong kills him, we will have nothing. Yameng excitingly shouted and quickly flew out. He was not even scared of Demon Child's threat. Yifeng, see you bye. You two stay here. Absolutely don't leave the ancient city at any cost. Mo bowed his head, reminded them, then followed others. Burning fire hovered around Shurian's body. Heaven and earth revolved above his head. The world was dozens of times bigger than before just in a short time. At this moment, that world turned out to be an ordinary one. The compacted in the air like a giant gray dragon, twisting while quickly absorbing heaven and earth's nearby. More and more heaven and earth's came and condensed. Heaven flame on Shurian's body was also affected by the power. The burning fire inside his body gradually disappeared. While the power had fully covered the place, Shurian's body was still surrounded by a twirling dense gray layer. It seemed that sound beasts intended to storm towards him as his body had been heavier and motionless. Shurian's body quietly hovered in the air. While his body was rapidly pulled up along with the whirl on top of his head, it suddenly ceased 100 meters above the ground. He could not control the whirl which had just formed. At the moment, Duolong, the patriarch of the Grey Wings clan, was still chasing him. Shurian wanted to get out of his current state, but he realized the abnormal change of the swirls inside his body had been no longer under his control. Damn the Three God Sect! Shurian could not help but curse. The Black Formula and the Star Martial Spirit of the Three God Sect both had attributes which were not controlled by him. At this critical point of time, the anomaly of the Black Formula and the Star Martial Spirit of the Three God Sect could put him in an everlasting perdition. Like this time. At this critical time, when Duolong was chasing behind, he was still motionless because of the anomaly of the Black Formula. His body was locked tightly in the air. In a short moment when Duolong arrived, he could easily kill him. The anomaly of Black Formula would strike him dead. Being still in the air, he helplessly tried to stop the swirls. Regardless of life or death, heaven and earth's on top of his head was still rolling in. Each sensible flow of the power gathered in the center of the swirls first before slowly pouring into meridians. The three small pearls inside the swirls quickly formed. As soon as the three pearls formed, they rapidly fell into meridians. The icy power started to stir in meridians rapidly, which made the speed of the swirl circulation and the whirl on top of his head even faster. Shurian did not know whether to laugh or cry. Heaven and earth's in this place was much denser than that in the exhaustion land. In such a short time, the three pearls had been formed inside of his meridians. If Duolong was not chasing him behind, he would have felt that the current change was really good. It was so fortunate to make the Black Formula absorb from everywhere. However, Duolong's pursuit made him impossibly excited. Regardless of how much he gathered this time, once Duolong arrived, the only option left for him was to die. According to ECU Bai, Duolong was at the peak of the sky realm. It was totally true to say that one of his legs had stepped to the profound god realm with black profound magical power. Those with that level could have easily killed him. When facing the one with several levels higher than him, gathering more or less was not really of much use at this point in time. As he quietly sensed heaven and earth's gathering, Shurian could not do anything but wait for Duolong's arrival. Boom! As soon as Duolong jumped to a gray cloud layer of he was struck out by two black-white wavy circles. Duolong's body shook constantly. Being attacked by the two waving circles, he kept being pushed backward. He was set back 100 meters before standing steadily on the ground. Dishan, you row. Duolong was livid with rage, shouted towards a direction. Why did you stop me? No one also knew that Kaba, Yameng, Mo had also quietly appeared there, hundreds of meters behind Duolong. All of them frowned, looking towards Duolong. And you too. Recognizing the intention of those three people, Duolong turned his around, looking at them and coldly said, "You want to stop me as well? If you want to kill that little rascal, 3 of us will unite to stop you. Yimeng nodded his head, replying, You dare to confront me? Duolong raised his head up to the sky, laughing frigidly. He fiercely said, Mess with Greywing's clan. Did you consider the consequences yet? Enough, Duolong. Dishan's voice suddenly rose up together with a black lightning. Dishan flapped his wings and appeared in front of Duolong in a blink of an eye. Yuro gently flew there like a feather, appearing behind Dishan. She unhappily looked at Duolong and said, Duolong, calm down. Let's talk. 3 of them have good intentions. They are here also because of our 2 tribes. Don't misunderstand them. Dishan and Yuro, one on the left, one on the right, blocked Duolong's way. Duolong's expression changed nonstop. When facing the 3 people of Kaba's group, he could howl or shout to intimidate them. But, facing Dishan and Yuro, he did not have any of the same determination. The strength of Black Wing's clan and White Wing's clan were both stronger than that of Grey Wing's clan. The personal capability of Dishan and Yuro were also 1 level higher than his. Dishan was wicked, Yuro was insidious. Duolong understood well their advantages. Him alone, being against any one of them was not a smart move, not to mention these 2 people were already on the same side. Kaba, Yimeng, Tianmo would obviously stick together. With their unity, he could not be careless. Why do you protect that little rascal? Duolong clenched his teeth and asked while gradually getting calmer. He can bring us out of here. Heaven Flame in his body could completely burn out the control style of the Sound Beast Mountain. As you have known, inside the Sound Beast Mountain, there should be a way for us to get out of this place. Dishan smiled and spoke to Duolong. That little rascal will die, but not now. Wait until we find out a way to get out of here, then you can freely handle that little rascal. But before that, you are not allowed to harm him. You all have the same thoughts? Duolong looked around. Yuro, Kaba, Yimeng, Tianmo all nodded. Everyone accepted what Dishan had just said. Okay, I won't touch him, temporarily. Hope your judgment is correct. Duolong said with a wistful face after contemplating for a while. Under the pressure of those 5 people, he could do nothing but agree with them. He nodded and said, I leave you this place. I will come back to Grey Wing's clan. If there is any change, let me know. One more thing, you have to give me that little rascal later. I want him alive. I can do it, Dishan calmly said. Duolong said no more and left with an annoying face, disappearing out of sight in no time. I think we can now go see that little rascal. He is a lovely human being. He brings us a bright light of hope to be out of this place. Yuro smiled mesmerizingly. I know the danger of Heaven Flame to your demonic Sound clan, but I hope you would accept the situation and should not do anything wrong. Otherwise, don't blame me for having no mercy. The face of Kaba, Yimeng, Tianmo changed. Under Yuro's glare, they all nodded, showing their obedience. If we all have agreed with it, let's go over there. After finishing the sentence, Dishan immediately rushed to Shuryan's location that was entirely covered by Yin. The others closely followed him with full of curiosity about what Shuryan had done to that area and how it had turned out. Patriarch, male leader of a clan/tribe. Matriarch, female leader of a clan/tribe. 000. Hello my dear audience. I am back to provide you with more chapters of this interesting novel. I've received many comments on previous chapters about the translation's quality. I was actually very happy with those constructive comments because it means you are still interested in this novel. I have learned and drawn a lot of experiences from your advice and suggestions. I hope you will find more qualified translated chapters from now on. And I always welcome your comments in order to improve better. By the way, my team is working hard to provide you with more choices on your bookshelf. We have added some new novels which, I am sure, will not disappoint you at all. One of them is Ghost, Catch the Ghost, of which I am also in charge. This novel is a totally different style. If you're a fan of mystery, horror, as well as humor, you definitely cannot miss this one. You can find all in one if you follow throughout the story. I am also waiting for your support and comments on this thrilling novel. Love you all. Have a great day. Chapter 248, Casually Response. Masses of black clouds hovered around without dispersing. These clouds were formed by the nearby Sound Beast scene. Sound beasts running out from Sound Beast Mountain brought heavy een along with them. Sound beasts' bodies also contained een. Indeed, een was the power resource of sound beasts, which was the most basic source allowing them to survive. The whirl which originated from serene had powerful gravitation. The whirl's horrendous existence made een on those sound beasts' bodies fly out, then merge back to the center of the whirl, turning to een power, slowly absorbing into his body, and finally becoming een pearls on his chest. The black formula was awesome. It unexpectedly had a terrifying power to take in the een from the surrounding sound beasts. In the middle of the black cloud layer, the big whirl circulated on top of Shurian's head was getting bigger and bigger. The gravitation also increased violently. A lot of een gathering here rolled into the whirl, turned into pure een power pouring into the center of the een swirl. More than 1,000 sound beasts nearby were showing their fear and insecurities. Even sound beasts at the 6th level could not control een outside of their bodies, and helplessly watched een crazily fly towards Shurian. Thus, those sound beasts started to be frightened. A few of high-level sound beasts wanted to jump into Shurian, who was collecting een, and quickly kill him. However, as soon as the high-level sound beasts came closer to Shurian, they realized that there was powerful heaven flame inside of his body. Heaven flame was the nemesis of all sound beasts. Although they were in a long distance away far from him, they could sense the scorching heaven flame on Shurian's body, which was enough to incinerate them. Being terrified by the heaven flame, sound beasts, which had previously wanted to jump into Shurian to kill him, instantly moved backward without any hesitation. Not long after that, another flock of sound beasts even sped up, storming towards into Shurian. They eventually drew back chaotically. In the air, sound beasts growled and howled like devils. They were getting aroused by something. They ignored the wings race's pagans and did not dare to come any closer to Shurian. They all quickly flew back towards Sound Beast Mountain. Sound beasts which were just coming close to Shurian immediately realized that een inside of their bodies did not want to be under control. Instead, it spread out violently, rapidly, and quietly gathered towards the whirl on top of Shurian's head. Those sound beasts had an insecure feeling. They knew that if they stayed here, their een would be constantly drained. Therefore, nearly 1,000 of sound beasts had already run away. Just right after sound beasts had fled, heaven and earth's een coming from those sound beasts segregated less and less until it stopped. The big whirl hovering above Shurian's head started slowing down while there was less and less een pouring in. It gradually disappeared afterward. The thick black clouds slowly faded and gradually vanished. Shurian's body also started to fall down slowly. Without black clouds, without having reached the natural sky realm, he could not maintain the arrogant standing pose in the air and finally fell down into the thick forest. Thud. His body fell down and the whirl above his head disappeared without leaving a trace. The een power hidden inside een pearls was horrendous, which made his entire body feel very fresh and comfortable. The een swirl on his chest seemed to be affected by those een pearls and increased its efficiency. The refining speed was also enhanced. Finally, after the een swirl had refined all of the een energies, it slowly stopped. Shurian opened his eyes and could not help but scream, then said with a low tone, "What do you want?" Besides him, the eyes of 3 men, Kaba, Yiming, and Etian-Mo flashed up a strange light with full of suspicion. Dishan of Black Wings clan and Yuro of White Wings clan looked at him interestingly, nodded their heads after seeing him awake. "Little rascal, your body has heaven flame? Do you know how to use heaven flame?" Yuro, the matriarch of White Wings clan, looked very beautiful with her smile. Her moderate and melodious voice could make others feel pleasant. Dishan squinted slightly. His squinted eyes seemed to see right through Shurian. When Dishan's eyes moved, he felt uncomfortable. There seemed a strange energy that inaudibly went into his body, observing everything inside of him. Shurian felt frozen inside. He did not know the other's intentions. He could not help but look towards Etian-Mo. During this short moment, he and Etian-Mo exchanged some information. Even his soul was somehow controlled by Etian-Mo previously. ECU Bai had already informed him of Duolong's arrival, which should be Yi Tianmo's idea. Later, he got to know that Yi Tianmo actually did not want him to die just yet. Therefore, he wanted to find out some useful information from Yi Tianmo's expression. You'd be better answering honestly, this is regarding you, whether to be alive or dead. Yi Tianmo secretly nodded his head and calmly said, "This is Yuro, the matriarch of White Wings clan. This is Di Shan of Black Wings clan. The strength of these two clans is much more comparable to the one of Grey Wings clan. Thanks to their help, you were able to get away from Duolong this time." Shuryen was frightened and silently stood up, clasped his hands towards Di Shan and Yuro, and respectfully said, "Thank you. No need to be grateful, little rascal, you have not answered my question." Beautiful Yuro slightly smiled. Shuryen calmly glared at her. Fear appeared on his face. This Yuro lady had a very beautiful look, snow-white skin, and appealing build. In addition, she had remarkably snow-white wings. That amazing look could have strongly mesmerized other people. When she revealed her charming smile, her body radiated modesty which no men could resist. Shuryen was not an exception. He kept staring at Yuro, his eyes changed from lucid to passionate. He gradually felt close to Yuro. He felt that she was very trustworthy. She was worthy enough for him to share all of his secrets inside of him. She would definitely not harm him. The Sea of Consciousness woke up surging. 5 dwarves in the Sea of Consciousness seemed to move quietly, poured 5 miraculous emotions into his Sea of Consciousness, and slowly recovered his consciousness. His eyes returned to be lucid. Shuryen startled out of the enchantment of Yuro, sweating all over his body as if he just went through an earth-shaking battle. Really strong. Shuryen was frightened and really panicked. He did not dare to look at Yuro any longer and submissively bowed his head. Her smile could make others unconscious. Even Shuryen, who considered himself to have a strong consciousness, almost disclosed everything. That enchantment was extremely terrifying. Without the 5 dwarves' movements in the Sea of Consciousness, and having been gently interrogated by Yuro, perhaps he would have had divulged all of his secrets, including the mystery martial spirit. "Dijia, you should not use this ploy, I cannot stand it." Shuryen bowed his head, miserably smiling. "I have cultivated a specific martial technique. If you keep on doing it several times more, I am afraid I will not be able to stand it any longer. I will be frightened to death. By that time, despite whatever you want to know from me, I will have no more energy to disclose anything of use to you." Yuro's beautiful eyes rolled a few circles, then slightly laughed, slowly nodded her head and said, "Interesting guy. You still could wake up. Your consciousness is very strong. It was beyond my expectations. Your conquering Heaven Flame is understandable. Heaven Flame and I are friends, friendship. It is not a conquest like you said. After all, what do you want from me? Could you please elaborate?" With the glares of 5 top-class warriors, Shuryen knew it was useless to fight back, so he extremely cooperated with them. "Very simple. Go and observe Sound Beast Mountain. Use Heaven Flame inside of your body to remove the shelter in Sound Beast Mountain." Di Shan of Black Wings clan clearly said, "I will do what you've said. But once I remove the shelter of Sound Beast Mountain, is it the death sentence for me? I know Duolong will definitely not forgive me, and neither will you." Shuryen fearlessly pointed out towards Yameng and Kaba. "We have to make this clear. By that time, will you kill me? Little rascal, you worry too much." Yameng harumphed coldly. "If you do not cooperate now, I can kill you right now." "Okay, could you start now?" Shuryen smiled, shrugged and said, "If I have to die sooner or later, why would I need to help you?" You can kill me now. That'd be better for me." You know how to negotiate. You're smart." Yuro sickly laughed. He thought for a minute before speaking to Di Shan. If this little rascal can remove the shelter, let's spare his life. It is worth it. Our 2 tribes have tried so much to get out of here. We have already sacrificed a lot. He is our only chance. If he can really help us fulfill our wish, I personally desire to spare his life. How about you?" Di Shan squinted, slowly nodded his head after considering, "Okay." Clap, clap, clap. Yuro clapped her hands while glancing at Shuryen. She burst into laughter and said, Little rascal, you don't need to worry anymore. If you can really remove the shelter, Dishan and I will spare your life. How about them? Shiryen looked towards Yimeng and Kaba. We said we would spare your life, you will not die. Dishan coldly shouted, looking at Yimeng and Kaba, and said, Is it so? Yimeng and Kaba, the two leaders of demonic sound clan, under the pressure from Dishan and Yuro, reluctantly nodded without saying a word, although they were very angry. Now go, I will bring you to Sound Beast Mountain. Yuro of White Wings clan did not say anything further, stretched her hand grabbing Shiryan's shoulder, flapped her wings, and flew away. They had already flown a few thousand meters in just a blink towards Sound Beast Mountain. Dishan closed his eyes gradually, his figure slowly disappeared. What should we do? After Dishan and Yuro had left, Kaba's face became gloomy. He looked towards Yimeng, then Tian Imo. That little rascal has heaven flame. Once he grows up, he will obviously be a dangerous threat for our demonic sound clan. Dishan and Yuro are on the same side now, but three of us can also unite with Duolong. Wait until the shelter is destroyed. Together with Duolong, killing that little rascal will not be difficult. Yimeng cruelly said. Kaba was astonished for a while, then said with a grin, That's right. Together with Duolong, we will not be afraid of Yuro and Dishan. Let's go see if that little rascal can really destroy the shelter or not. Tian Emo said nothing with an indifferent face. He seemed to have another plan. Jia, Chinese way to call an elder sister. 000. Hey guys, follow us for more chapters and novels. We are more than happy if our audience is pleased. Let's vote for us. Chapter 249, Transformation of the Sea of Consciousness. Sound Beast Mountain. In the Sound Beast heaven, scorching flames gathered and created many heated fireballs that were violently flowing into a big mountain cave. At the cave entrance, it was full of peculiar cold-in energies, which were constantly condensing and refining. Once heaven flame poured in, these peculiar-in energies would be incinerated. From that burning, the sound boom boom, as well as the fainted-in aura came up together. Near Sound Beast Mountain, thunder and lightning were striking fiercely and violently. Lightning like spiritual snakes plunged down from the sky, hitting the mountain. Shiryen stood not far from the cave entrance. He was using Heaven Flame's power to destroy the shelter inside of the cave. Sound beasts which were flying out promptly flew back into Sound Beast's mountain as soon as they saw Shiryen. No beast dared venture out afterward. Shiryen had not only the power to absorb their in, but also the power to use Heaven Flame to burn them, which absolutely scared them out of their wit. Even high-level sound beasts also recognized the energy of their nemesis Shiryen. They did not dare to get closer to him and were afraid of being burnt to death. Shiryen's special gravitation technique could destroy all the in that they had arduously refined. Shiryen's existence was not only the nemesis of demonic sound clan, but also of sound beasts. Many flows of heaven flames advanced outwards into the cave. Shiryen could realize that the shelter at the cave entrance was like billions of durable filaments that twisted tightly together, though it was partly destroyed by the projected heaven flame in such a short time. However, before the shelter was completely broken apart, there was a lot of power surging into the cave to regenerate itself. The damaged areas would be regenerated before the shelter could totally be destroyed. He also tried the other cave openings, but the results were all the same. Caves in Sound Beast Mountain were like beehives. They seemed to have a special connection. Once the shelter of one cave was intruded, the power of the other caves would swarm quickly, uniting to defend the attack. Heaven Flame could burn everything, including different kinds of shelters and restriction spell. Theoretically, Heaven Flame could have imploded the shelters, opening up the entrance to the caves. However, even though he had already tried many different alternatives, Shiryen realized that the shelter's solidity was totally beyond his imagination. Once he used Heaven Flame's all-out power, thunder and lightning would strike down from the sky. Therefore, he reluctantly had to spare some of his energies to shield himself from it. As the result, he could not concentrate all of his powers to destroy the shelter. Phew! After breathing lightly, gradually retrieving the emitted burning fire, and fondling the blood vein ring, Shuryen sent out his sense to the 10,000-year earth flame. Power. Can I not thrust out more burning fire power? Possible, but you may not be able to withstand it. One more thing. I am at the point of critical transformation. It is not a suitable time to project the power constantly. Maybe with a little more time, it will be possible. Wait until I can really refine more essential forces. Maybe then, will I be able to help you more. The information coming from Earth Flame was a little chaotic and interrupted. It was telling Shuryen its current disposition. Boom. A lightning violently struck down. Shuryen moved in a blink, immediately stopped connecting with Earth Flame. He hesitated for a while before trying to use black formula again. Swirls at the 3 meridians on his chest were being affected by pearls, and they started to slowly revolve. Numerous caves nearby dispersed out plenty of flows from inside of it, which rapidly gathered into the whirlwind on top of Shuryen's head. It then turned to power in his body. They were then completely refined by 3 swirls. Meanwhile, the power of the shelter in this cave weakened a little after he had used black formula. Swirls revolved. Shuryen's sea of consciousness rose up in strong waves. The 5 devils in the sea of consciousness were also underway. 5 flows of emotions gradually changed his feelings, pulling along negative energies from meridians throughout his whole body. Shuryen entered the first stage breakthrough of rampage in the blink of an eye. Negative energies in his whole body hovered undispersed. The gravitation of the whirlwind on top of his head, created by black formula, suddenly increased tremendously when Shuryen entered the rampage status. From numerous caves of Sound Beast Mountain, sound beasts constantly send out frightening howls and growls. They seemed to sense that something was horribly wrong. After shelters started to be insecure, sound beasts ear-splittingly shrieked. Wah wah, creak creak, howl howl. Waves of sounds like a monstrous tide abruptly resounded from a group of the mountain caves. Those waves of sound became chaotic noises, causing the anomaly of Sound Beast Mountain. Suddenly, lightning hovering above Sound Beast Mountain like a gigantic dragon struck down from the sky. At the same time, a few special howls of sound beasts created a terrifying soul attack. An invisible impulsive eye of the soul went into Shuryen's sea of consciousness instantaneously. The 5 devils in the sea of consciousness became abnormally hasty. Being attacked by the souls, the 5 devils gathered all negative energies inside of Shuryen to form its counterattack. Boom. A big long lightning abruptly struck down behind Shuryen. Lightning energy like a filament, a part of which invaded his sea of consciousness. The pain crawled throughout his whole body in an instant. A while later, after the pain had spread out, swirls also stopped moving. The whirl on top of his head then vanished. The sea of consciousness was really painful. The 5 devils flew around, showing their fangs and claws, and dispersed all kinds of negative feelings. It seemed to obliterate Shuryen's consciousness, making him go insane. Shuryen clenched his teeth, quickly ceased in moving the rampage. Seeing the lightning strike down from the sky, he had to rapidly retreat, running down crossing Sound Beast Mountain in one breath. The sea of consciousness rose up in big waves. The 5 devils inside were the leaders. Being invaded by lightning and struck by the soul attack of sound beasts, the 5 devils highly became uncontrollable. Shuryen's spiritual consciousness gradually lost the control over the 5 devils, nearly falling inwards into permanent insanity. When having cultivated this devil spell, Shuryen had known that he always had to take control over the 5 devils. If not, once the 5 devils got out from under the control of his soul, he would become a crazy murderous devil. It was very hard to awake from it. If it happened, the 5 devils in the sea of consciousness would replace his soul. His consciousness would disappear little by little. They and the Star Martial Soul together absorbed a lot of negative energies, emitted plenty of negative powers which made him insane. Actually, his consciousness in being attacked by the negative energies would be able to recover gradually after his meridians could refine those energies. Once the 5 devils controlled his spirit and replaced his soul, he would possibly end up in everlasting perdition. He would never ever awake again. Repressing the sea of consciousness's anomalous condition, Shiryen ran down in a single breath to the foot of Sound Beast Mountain. He then saw that Kaba, Dishan, and Yuro were already there. Only a little bit more. I can feel that if you use a bit more powerful energy and more of the refined heaven flame, you will be able to break through that shelter. Dishan closed his eye, then suddenly opened them. Only a little more. Why did you retreat? I was counterattacked. If I had not withdrawn, I would not have ever had a chance to attack the shelter again. Shiryen slightly clenched his teeth, breathing heavily, his eyes lit up a fierce light. He seemed not to be scared of the pressure from the 5 top-class warriors and said in a low tone, "You should have a solution. If not, once I am struck dead by the counterattack, I cannot help you whatsoever at all. I can assure that if you give me a little more time, I can definitely break that shelter." Tianmo's face slightly changed and said, "His soul is strange. The frequency of its vibration is extremely furious. Inside his sea of consciousness, it seems as if it is going to explode soon." The sea of consciousness. Dishan and Yuro could not help but scream, looking at Tianmo astonishingly. Wings Race's knowledge and sense of soul were of far less than of demonic sound clans. Dishan and Yuro had not known that Shiryen already had the Sea of Consciousness. Therefore, after hearing what Tianmo had just said, they were immediately frightened. "Ah, little rascal, we did not know you have the Sea of Consciousness." Kaba and Yimeng had not carefully observed Shiryen's brain area. Now, with Tianmo's reminder, the both of them released their soul power to explore, promptly realizing that Shiryen's Sea of Consciousness was at the Nirvana realm. "This little rascal, is he only at the Earth realm?" Yuro rubbed her forehead, bewilderedly saying, "That's right. I also don't know how he could have possessed the Sea of Consciousness, but it is really the Sea of Consciousness. Currently, inside of it, there are 5 kinds of strange souls with different attributes. Moreover, they are conflicting with one another. It is starting to affect his Sea of Consciousness. It can even implode his Sea of Consciousness." Tianmo said with a low tone. "He cannot die." Dishan's face changed and coldly said, "Little rascal, what should we do to help you, in not to be counterattacked?" "Females." Shiryen's eyes gradually turned red, breathing hard, said, "I need females to cooperate as soon as possible. Give me the 3 human females that Yimeng had captured and confined. These 3 ladies can help me avoid the counterattack. Once I recover, I can definitely break the shelters in a few days." "Only females?" Dishan bewildered. "That simple?" Shiryen nodded his head. Yuro's face turned red with watery eyes, slightly smiled, and said, "I don't know what kind of wicked technique this little rascal has cultivated." "Hehe. You are also a lustful little guy." If it is about females, then it's easy. Yimeng, let's go to your place. Ask your son Yaji to bring him 3 human females." "Do you have any problem with that?" "No, not at all." Yimeng bewildered, glancing at Shiryen wickedly. "Take him." Dishan nodded with Yuro and flapped his black wings. His figure gradually disappeared. "Little rascal, if you can break that shelter, don't even mention of 3 human girls, even girls of demonic sound clan or wings race. If you desire them, I can give them all to you, and you can do whatever as you wish." Yuro smiled slightly. "We do not lack beautiful, extraordinary girls, amorous girls of demonic sound clan. You can enjoy them to the fullest extent that you are capable of." Bringing Shiryen, Yuro teleported, on and off in the sky, and came close to the giant stone ancient city. Shiryen's eyes had turned totally red, his breath was getting heavier, he could smell the orchid fragrance from Yuro's small hand grabbing him. He could not help but imagine wickedly. In the middle of the air, Shiryen raised up his head, looking at the beautiful lady with snow-white skin, nobly charming, his eyes gradually became enchanted. Hello guys, hope you all enjoy this chapter. Do you think 6 leaders of these 2 tribes will sacrifice anything to help Shiryen to break the shelter? Is it that important to them? Please stay with us to find out more together. Have a good day you all. Chapter 250. What is there to be scared of? In the thick forest, Yuro, With her soft and flexible body like the lightning in the air, gently flapped her snow-white wings, flashed up then vanished. Little rascal, as Yuro bowed her head to glance at Shiryen with a strange look, she shook her head reluctantly and accelerated. While being dragged along by Yuro, Shiryen's breath was heavy, his pupils were bloodshot with full of blood veins like a bloodthirsty beast with a murderous look, which could scare others out of their wit. Yuro was the matriarch of White Wings clan. Although her soul cultivation could not be considered high and profound, her knowledge of special forces was much more profound compared to that of the demonic Sound clan's leaders. She quietly released a stream of profound chi to explore the nerves and vessels inside of Shiryen's body. Her pupils suddenly trembled, her eyes lit up a splendid light. Impossible. Yuro was really frightened, mumbling something. She again released many streams of profound chi, gathered all of her spirits together to understand the strange condition of Shiryen's body. Each stream of profound chi went searching, which was as if thin filaments moved in and out of Shiryen's veins. They carefully explored his nerves, veins, bones, and intricate systems inside of Shiryen's body. Then, they responded in detail to Yuro. As the result, she could somehow see through everything in Shiryen's body. Not long after that, the eyes of the matriarch of the White Wings clan flashed on and off again. She looked at Shiryen in a daze. "Little rascal, are you really a human warrior?" Yuro suddenly asked with a serious face after contemplating for a while. Her voice was like the lightning which penetrated Shiryen's head violently and made his ambiguous consciousness become lucid. In his sea of consciousness, the five devils were still stirring up. As plenty of negative emotions spread out from the inside of the five devils' bodies and rolled into the sea of consciousness, Shiryen's sea of consciousness transformed silently and affected his mind slowly. When his mind became a bit more lucid, Shiryen raised his head, looking at the heart-touching beautiful lady of the White Wings clan. Because of the mesmerizing fragrance from her body, he could not help but react. His breathing became heavier. "Why do you ask me about this?" Shiryen constantly inhaled many times to control his feelings, frowned and asked in a low tone. "Humankind's body cannot be that sturdy. Your nerves and veins are firm and large. It seems that you have cultivated for a very long time. There are no impurities inside of your body. Each cell within your body is very lively, contains a terrifying implosion. You do not even need to use any profound chi. The power from your body is not that less of a normal disaster realm warrior. Are you really a human being?" Yuro's face was really strange. She paused for a while and then continued, "As far as I know, to my knowledge, even the mighty bodies of demon tribes warriors at the same level could not compare with yours. At the same Earth realm level, the bodies of the Wings race's outstanding warriors are still not as good as yours. What did you do to attain it after all? With your sturdy body, the Earth realm, together with the sea of consciousness, this sole accomplishment is indeed extraordinary. How did you?" Yuro was terrified. While exploring Shiryen's body, she found out his special soul and his mysterious sturdy body accidentally. Once this peculiarly talented man grew up, it was impossible to imagine the possible levels that he would be able to reach. She started to feel regretful and promising to spare his life after this newfound knowledge. Suffering such tough cultivations and weaving in and out through life and death can make you become like this. Shiryen repressed messing feelings in his sea of consciousness, slightly clenched his teeth, breathed heavily and urged, "Do not waste more of the others' time. Quickly bring me to the giant stone ancient city over there. I am afraid that I cannot withstand it any longer." "Damn you little rascal, what a low-class guy." Yuro burst out laughing, shaking her head, and reluctantly said, "Forget it. Wait until we solve the counter-attack problem, then I will interrogate you." Upon her words, Yuro promptly urged the power from her body, bringing Shiryen to the giant ancient stone city of the demonic Sound clan. However, at this time, a strong flow of soul vibrations dispelled out from Shiryen's body. This flow was extremely fierce. It spread out all over his body in a blink and attacked Yuro unexpectedly. The five emotions of despair, fear, bloodshed, greed, and resentment turned into a flow of vibrating souls, covering the matriarch of the White Wings clan in a very short time. The 5 Devils in the Sea of Mind was a strange martial technique from the Blood Vein Ring. It was created by the combination of the negative emotions that dispersed outwards from Shuriyan's meridians and his spiritual seal in the Sea of Consciousness. It had not only a part of his consciousness, but also the tremendous soul power. While Shuriyan was talking to Yuro, a crazy idea of killing Yuro sprang to his mind uncontrollably. This idea came up in the Sea of Consciousness that led to the action of the 5 Devils in the Sea of Mind. The 5 Devils in the Sea of Consciousness had already been restless. They now suddenly became disordered, considered Yuro as a target, and attacked Yuro. Soul attack, Yuro calmly smiled and slightly shook her head. To our wings race, the soul attack is the stupidest move that one could make. The 5 emotions of despair, fear, bloodshed, greed, and resentment turned into a subtle beam of souls twisting towards Yuro quickly, wanted to affect Yuro's mind, and put her under the control of these emotions to become a puppet of the 5 Devils. Still very bad, Yuro stood motionless while the 5 kinds of emotions went into her head. She whistled slightly all in sudden. Melodious whistle hovered around the forest. It was like a sharp sword that cut through the soul filaments, wiped out the souls which were emitted by the 5 Devils completely. Quickly, the soul attack that was projected by the 5 Devils was thoroughly obliterated by the whistle without leaving any traces. As soon as Shuriyan's eyes was a little more lucid, he shouted, "Let go of me." "Why?" Ryusically smiled. "Now, aren't you in a hurry to find girls anymore? Let me go. Let me stabilize first. Because you've already cut those souls, I could escape from the soul counterattack of the Sea of Consciousness successfully. Give me a little more time. I can recover soon." "As you wish." Yuro slightly smiled, then let go of him. Shuriyan's body rolled in the air, his face changed tragically. He urged his profound chi quickly. His eyes scanned around looking for any branches that he could land on. The matriarch of the White Wings clan was hundreds of meters above in the sky. She let go of Shuriyan as he wished, without worrying whether if he would die from his fall or not. "You dared to implement the soul attack upon me. You are brave." Yuro hovered in the air, flapping her snow-white wings. A cold light flashed on and off from her eyes. Crackle, crackle. Rustle, rustle. After constantly breaking more than 10 branches which were as big as a muscular man's arm, Shuriyan's painful body stabilized little by little. In the midst of the ancient tree's leaves, he raised his head, looking at the mesmerizingly beautiful lady in the sky, shouted with anger, "Did you really want me to fall down to my death?" "No." Her snow-white wings swayed, her mesmerizing straight legs shot a few kicks before descending slowly. She laughed and said, "Aren't you all right?" A strange, hard-to-see light projected from her flapping wings. Crackle, crackle. The branch on which Shuriyan was lying down broke again. He continued to fall down after struggling to stabilize himself from the first fall. His entire body was shaken in extreme pain. "Oh, why did you fall again?" Yuro gently landed with an encouraging smile. "It's not bad. You fell down from up high above and did not die. Little rascal, your body is really sturdy." "Not bad, not bad. I like men with vigorous bodies. So, do you want to give it a try? I am good at everything. I can guarantee that you will be satisfied at the ultimate," Shuriyan said as he gnashed his teeth and gums. Yuro's watery eyes flashed up a cold light. She said calmly, "I myself want to see as well. If you could do so, do you dare to come closer?" As being the matriarch of the White Wings clan, her strength and rigidity would not be dominated by her beauty. Until now, there was no one who dared to tease and play with her like this. She became angry, but a strange feeling of excitement also appeared at the same time. "What's not a dare?" Shuriyan asked with a cold face. He stood up, rubbed his ass, warmed up a little bit, then approached straight to Yuro. Yuro's snow-white wings on her back retracted quietly. At this moment, the matriarch of the White Wings clan was a little nervous. Her eyes lit up a strange light, calmly stared at Shuriyan, who was coming step by step. Her body projected solemnity and power, which could have been only found from the top-class warriors. Her body had tremendous power, which was enough to backlash and kill Shuriyan. The The power slowly dispersed and covered her whole body. Before, when she exposed her solemnity and impetuosity, male warriors had to be well-behaved and felt ashamed in front of her. They did not even dare to look at her, let alone express their lust to her. Even lustful Duolong had to be well-behaved. He never dared to expose his lust to her directly. She also assumed that Shiryan was not an exception. When he was approaching step by step, Shiryan's face was innocent as if he did not know what was about to happen. He kept walking underneath her violent waves of power without any hesitation. While Yuro still remained leisurely, anxiety lit up in her eyes suddenly. She coldly looked at the big, strong man coming towards her and felt startled weirdly. But at this moment, a satiric smile appeared at the corners of Shiryan's mouth. He stopped 10 meters away from Yuro, looked at her attentively, and said, "Are you scared?" "Am I scared?" Yuro felt disgraced, coldly laughed, puffed out her big breasts, and said, "I am standing here. If you really dare, come and touch me." A big flow of vibrating power like a whirlwind emerged behind her. The violent and brutal power kept emitting terrifying energy. This was what she was scared of, Shiryan. "I don't even know what I should be scared of." Shiryan burst into maniacal laughter and urged the electric shift to advance towards the matriarch of the White Wings clan in just a blink. His big hands stretched out and placed themselves on those big firm breasts of hers without any fear of death. After groping and rubbing her breasts strongly for a good while, he shouted before really enjoying this wonderful feeling, "If you kill me, your tribe will never be able to leave this place. Only I can help you and your tribe get out of here." He clearly knew that the Wings race and the demonic Sound clan wanted to get out of this place as soon as possible. They would not regret anything to leave this place. Therefore, regardless of how angry the matriarch of the White Wings clan really was, he believed once he mentioned about this, she would be always vigilant. While his hands pressed and massaged her breasts deliberately, he shouted all in sudden without daring to enjoy more of the feelings that were aroused from fondling her big, voluptuous breasts. "Hello guys, from now on, we will post one chapter every day. Leave me your comments and suggestions. You can also tell me if there is any novel which you would love to be translated. We will check and see if your desire can be satisfied. Have a great day and enjoy this wonderful novel." Chapter 251, Arrogant Bluster. Deep in a forest. Shiryan's big hand laid on the stunningly round and firm breasts of the matriarch of the White Wings clan. After the terrible hair-raising scream, he waited for the rage of the hurricane and thunderstorm to come. Unexpectedly, the brutal attack of Yuro did not rise up yet. Shiryan not only implemented the petrification process, but also used the Dark Shield. At the same time, he quietly circulated profound qi, accumulated all the forces into his body to prevent himself from a murderous strike which could kill him dreadfully. However, after 10 seconds of anxiously waiting for the violent repercussion attack that was supposed to happen after he had fondled her white, silky breasts, it, finally, did not come as expected. Shiryan got bewildered, looked at the matriarch of the White Wings clan. He realized with a surprise that her skin had turned red, her eyes were dreamily infatuated, her breath was rushed. She stood still weirdly. Even her retracted snow-white wings trembled slightly before stretching out again. He felt a warm and elastic feeling where his hand was placing. On top of the beautiful bosom perked a grape-sized bead. It was gradually getting bigger. Oh! Boom. Tremendous lust was like a volcano exploded. The calmness in Shiryan's eyes, which had been just recovered, became a burning flame all in sudden. The lusty flame in his body rose up nonstop. In just a moment, Shiryan lost his mind again. He was totally dominated by lust. His other hand also stretched out and placed upon the round bottom of the noble lady and rubbed it unceremoniously for a cool while. Suddenly, Shiryan embraced her tighter and bit her pink-red lips. Fragrance struck to his nose. A mesmerizing feeling shook him as if there was an electronic current running inside of him. It was extremely pleasurable. Shiryan was nibbling on the beautiful cherry blossom lips of the White Wing clan's matriarch. His two hands were not free. Instead, they constantly caressed her body, freely disgracing this habitated lady satisfactorily. Yuro gasped, hardly breathed when being compelled to kiss Serene. She could not stand but moan. The matriarch of the White Wings clan had never been violated by any man before. After letting out a moan, her mind that was immersing in a deep valley recovered rapidly. Her beautiful dreamy eyes flashed up a cold, threatening light. Right after that, a tremendous flow of power from her delicate body exploded gushingly out. Boom! It was as if Serene was being compacted by a mountain. His body was like a kite with its broken string blew far away by the wind. He spat out a mouthful of blood while his body was still in the air. The dark shield in his body was broken, his skin and flesh were torn. After falling down, his whole body's energy was agitated and extremely messy. You dare. You dare. The face of the White Wings clan's matriarch was cold and grim. The murderous look in her eyes was like a real sharp sword shooting outwards. Serene's entire body did not have any energy anymore. All kinds of forces were stirring up and about. He wanted to move, but he could not use even a single beam of power. He could only stare at the dazzling sunbeam advancing without being able to do anything. His body got seriously injured just in a blink. The 5 devils in the Sea of Consciousness, on the contrary, were more restful. They no longer dared to revolt at this particularly critical moment. I can help the Wings race get out of here, Serene said through his clenched teeth. If I am dead, you will have to stay here forever. The beautiful eyes of the White Wings clan's matriarch flared up a strange white light. Her gruff feelings started to cool down little by little. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. White lights which were advancing towards Serene abruptly diverted. They zoomed over the 2 sides of Serene's ears and intensively shot into the ground. Serene let out a sigh silently, wiped the blood off the corners of his mouth. He said without fear, "You are so mesmerizing. Don't blame me. Any man in front of you will not be able to control himself." It is unbelievable that you have never been experienced in any relations between a man and a woman. Actually, I have earned a good bargain. In this situation, Serene did not even try to be pitiable. Instead, he also dared to say perverse words. Such a formidable lust indeed. Sharp backfire from Yuro struck out Serene in a blink of an eye. Strange lights from her eyes shot out uncontrollably. If it wasn't for Serene's timely scream, even if he could avoid it for one time, he would not be able to avoid it for the second time. Although his body was intensively firm, he would not have been able to bear it. You deserve to die. Yuro breathed hastily. Her eyes sparked a cold light. Her body was full of sharp, murderous look. She gritted her teeth fiercely while glaring at Serene. She was so angry that her delicate body shivered slightly. Serene slowly sat up. His skin and flesh were torn up. Fresh blood ran freely all over his body. However, confronting Yuro's furious glare, he bloomed a bright smile. Haha, death is worth it. You are too mesmerizing. Even if I have to die to kiss you, I would still be happy to do it. Haha. Yuro's snow-white wings slightly wavered. Her graceful body moved forward to Serene. A white sword which was condensed and refined by profound chi emerged on her palm. She put it to Serene's throat, looking at him with cold and dreary eyes. She said with an icy voice, "You are really not scared of being dead?" Yes, Serene burst into laughing and calmly nodded. Of course, I am scared of being dead. But I know you will not kill me. Haha. I am the first man who ever kissed you, aren't I? You still dare to say. Yuro was suddenly convulsive. She was so agitated that she burst into laughter. You really think I won't dare to kill you? Even if I didn't kill you now, wait and see after you break the shelter. Because of what you have done today, I will not only kill you, but also make you die miserably. By that time, you will know that falling into my hands will be worse than duolongs. I believe it. Serene nodded his head and said deliberately, I know that your cultivation stage is higher than duolongs. If you really want to kill me, I absolutely cannot die easily. Yuro's beautiful eyes were dazed in a short time. The more she looked at the boastful guy in front of her, the angrier she got. The little detestable rascal was really lusty and did not care about life or death while disgracing her. He freely did disgraceful things to her flawless, virgin body. She regretted not being able to cut Serene into thousands of pieces, but she knew this was not the time to kill him. For the wings race to get the hell out of this damn place, she definitely had to be patient. "You are really mesmerizing," Serene softly mumbled. He slowly moved his neck out of the attacking area of the dazzling light sword in Yuro's hand while observing carefully her expression. After being safe from that dangerous sword, he stood up quickly. Yuro's arm, with the sword on her hand, stretched straight out while looking at him with a frigid smile. She withdrew the sword slowly after a little bit hesitation. After releasing a sigh of relief in silence, Shiryan's eyes flared up. He suddenly moved one step forward, held the white, jade-like hand of this charming noble lady determinately, and said, "As things have already happened, will you then be my girl?" "You." The matriarch of White Wings clan suddenly waved her arms strongly and glared at him furiously. "You crazy little rascal. You want me to be your girl? I have never met any insanely dreamy man like you. What do you have? What can you give me? Based on what reasons do you dream to have me? Only because that you've kissed me." Yuro sickly smiled. Her eyes were very cold. She constantly calmed herself down and pulled herself together because she could not kill him now. "Your cultivation should be at the first sky of the spirit realm." Shiryan smiled leisurely and said, "This is really a terrifying realm. I only have the earth realm cultivation. The gap between you and me is the nirvana realm and sky realm. It should take hundreds of years for an ordinary man to go through these two realms. Most people cannot reach these two levels in their entire life." Yuro got dazed, looked at Shiryan astonishingly, then said, "You are not stupid. You clearly know the difference between us two, yet still dare to say rubbish. Based on what? I can surely reach the spirit realm in 50 years maximum." Shiryan shouted. "I will surpass you in 60 years at most." "Haha, haha." Yuro burst into laughter till she cried after hearing what he'd said. She pointed to Shiryan with a mocking face. 50 years to reach the spirit realm. 60 years to surpass me. Haha, that is so funny. I have never seen any dreamy, arrogant man like you. Nowadays, are all the guys in the outside world short-sighted like you? No, that's not it." Shiryan shook his head. "Ordinary men in front of you do not even dare to come close to you, not to mention daring to disgrace you regardless of being alive or dead." Yuro's mocking face loosened. "Very good. You are more daring than the others indeed. But this doesn't mean anything. I think an ordinary Earth Realm warrior would totally explode to dead with one of your uncontrollable backfires. It is actually also hard for a Nirvana Realm warrior to still be alive. However, look, I am still standing in front of you." Yuro's beautiful eyes brightened. As she got stunned by Shiryan's weird behavior, she had not noticed this. When Shiryan reminded her of this fact, she realized the fact that Shiryan was still alive was a miraculous magic itself. She trusted her strength completely. She knew how tremendous the power of her ruthless strike was. Exactly as what Shiryan had said, not to mention an Earth Realm warrior, even a Nirvana Realm warrior would be certainly dead under her strike. But Shiryan was still standing in front of her and boasting. "You really are competent," Yuro had to admit. "But your crazy aspirations do not match with your current capabilities. If you had the spirit realm now, I would have considered your proposal." Shiryan had a little headache. He knew that in this place, neither the demonic Sound Clan nor the Wings race had any good intentions for him. He did not believe in the previous promises that Deshawn and Yuro had made. He knew that after he had broken the shelters, death surely awaited him. He had dared to disgrace and disturb Yuro was because he hoped this would remain as a special feeling in Yuro's heart. If Yuro had a little crush on him, his chances of survival would be a bit better. After having realized this experience with the beautiful lady who had never tasted such sexual affections, he was more confident in carrying on his plan. However, when having started his plan for real, he had realized that it was much too difficult. Regardless of how much he tried to convince her, she was still unchanged. "How difficult it is. Oh, your body." Yuro suddenly covered her mouth, shouted in surprise. Her beautiful eyes lit up a strange light as if she was witnessing a magical thing. As Shiryan bowed his head down to see, he realized the immortal martial spirit was starting its efficiency. The wound's healing speed was fantastically remarkable. Immortal God King. You are the descendant of the 3 God Kingses from the ancient time. The matriarch of White Wings clan was stunned for a while before screaming astonishingly. Her eyes flickered, her beautiful face was totally frightened, and her graceful body slightly trembled. Chapter 252, God's Will. Serene stood still in front of her. Even though he was motionless, the wounds on his body were healing with a remarkable speed. After a moment, all the open wounds closed completely. There were only a few blood scars on his chest, and they were also gradually fading. After the immortal martial spirit had entered the 3rd phase, the recovering speed of Shiryan's body was much faster than of before. While fighting with other people, his wounds could heal immediately, which could keep him immortal. The matriarch of White Wings clan was astonished, looked at him in a daze. She mumbled, "Immortal God King, is it really the will of God?" Shiryan squinted. A big question mark appeared in his mind. He did not know why the matriarch of White Wings clan had such a drastic reaction. Did the god's blood of the 3 God Kings in the ancient time possibly have anything related to the Wings race? With that thought, he hesitated for a while before saying, "I have the immortal martial spirit. The god's blood running inside of my body is indeed similar to the god's blood of the 3 God Kings. Is this somehow also related to you?" Yuro's eyes regained the calmness. She nodded after a little hesitation. Demonic Sound Clan and Wings Race had great gratitude for the 3 God Kings in the ancient time. Without their help, our 2 races would not have been deported here, but exterminated instead. Shiryan was agitated. Yuro raised her head up, looked at him with a strange face. She thought for a while, and said with some confusion, these occurrences had been mentioned in an ancient book which belonged to our ancestors. That year, the 2 races were deported to this place and could not get out of here until this very moment. The ancestors of the 2 races used to swear that if the 3 God Kings or their descendants could help the 2 races get out of here, the 2 races would crown him and obey him forever. What? Shiryan's eyes brightened instantly. He said with a smile, "As you said, if I can help your 2 races get out of this damn place, according to your ancestors' guidance, you will have to serve me like a master. Am I misunderstanding it?" Yuro miserably smiled and nodded her head. "According to ancestors' guidance, if you can really accomplish this feat, we will serve you as if you were our master indeed. Just it has been such a very long time, many things have changed, our ancestors had been long gone. Because that time was much too long ago. I am not sure if everyone still follows the ancestors' guidance." Shiryan was surprised, thought for a while. He then looked at Yuro with blazing eyes and asked, "First, disregard the other people. How about you? Will you follow the ancestors' guidance?" I don't know." The matriarch of White Wings clan slightly shook her head, murmuring to herself, "Is it really the will of gods? Is it because the ancestors had broken their oath for the first time that the crossing to the 3 God King realm is happening now? If not, why does that little rascal have heaven flame, and how come he has the blood of the descendants of the God Kings in ancient time? Is it destiny? Some things have been soon defined." The matriarch of White Wings clan mumbled with a panicked face. She felt as if she was deeply immersed in a huge maze, struggling inside of her own mind. The 3 God Kings in the ancient time, besides the immortal God King, who were the other 2? Shiryan suddenly asked. Before, although the ice-cold flame had mentioned about the god's blood, it still had been very ambiguous. Anyway, it was a very long time ago. It was not easy to find a person who had information about the ancient times. He did not want to let this chance slip by easily. Besides the immortal God King, the other gods were the true Dragon God King and the Heaven Poison God King. They had the true Dragon God Constitution and the Heaven Poison God Constitution. The true Dragon God King could take the form of the God Dragon and possess the strength of the God Dragon, who was extremely mighty. The blood of the Heaven Poison God King could poison any living creatures. A drop of his god's blood could poison the entire sea, eroding all creatures inside of it. When the matriarch of White Wings clan talked about the three god kings' hidden information, she looked very serious. Her voice was deliberately earnest. Her face was full of respect. The three god kings were the summit of the existence in the ancient time. Without their defenses, our two races should have perished. Therefore, even though the two races have been deported here, we were still very thankful. Our gratitude towards them has been carried on throughout every generation in order to forever engrave their merits. That's good. Shiryen smiled. If Dishan, Duolong, and the other leaders follow their ancestors' guidance, once I help you get out of this damn place, all of you will serve me as your master. Haha, that is perfect. Eshu, such a good dream. Yuro shook her head while scolding at him. Those people have wicked intentions. They will not be content with it. Their positions are high and noble. They absolutely will not lay eyes on you. Except if your stage and strengths are higher than theirs, only then may they follow the ancestors' guidance reluctantly. But you are only at the Earth realm. You are clearly a stupid dreamer if you want them to submit to you. Yuro stopped a bit, then continued, You'd better not show the immortal God King attributes, otherwise you will bring death upon yourself much faster. I will first ask Dishan to see his attitude regarding the ancestors' guidance. If Dishan is willing to follow it, you may still have some hope. But if Dishan does not want to abide by the ancestors' guidance, you should not have any further thoughts. After her words, Yuro grabbed Shiryen again and flew up towards the giant stone ancient city of the demonic Sound clan without saying anything else. On the wall of the ancient city, the outstanding geniuses of the new generation of the Kiara Sea, Chao Jilan, Gu Linglong, Panja, and Chu Yenqing were all confined in a cage, wearing gloomy faces and dreary eyes. In the Kiara Sea, these people were on the top of the combat list. Normally, their families often possessed noble statuses and had servants for everything. However, in this place, they were just common prisoners, could be killed at any single given moment by their jailers. The feelings of hopelessness made them lose their previous inherited arrogance. They were now a group of people with bowed heads and necks retracted, retreated to a single corner with fear more than ever. Yaji rubbed his chin. His dull eyes kept sweeping about Chao Jilan's and Gu Linglong's alluring bodies. It seemed he was considering a good time to take these two girls. Chao Jilan and Gu Linglong both had powerful martial spirit on their bodies, which was very useful for his cultivation. Although Chu Yenqing's appearance had nothing special, the energy in her body was very peculiar. Yaji felt that there should be some hidden secrets in her body. Thus, he also planned to unclothe her to see if there was something hidden underneath her clothes. The two girls, Shuefei and Siyu Bai, were on the other side talking to each other in a low tone, sometimes glancing at the people being confined in the cage. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. From the sky, some figures suddenly descended on the wall near Yaji. Besides Kaba, Yameng, Tianimo, there was also Dishan of Black Wings clan. Dishan's arrival surprised Yaji, Siyu Bai, and Shuefei greatly. They hastily kowtowed respectfully. As being the patriarch of Black Wings clan, Dishan had not only strong powers, but also an unimaginably high cultivation. Whenever Demonic Sound clan and Wings race had a conflict, Dishan's decision was always the most important and the final one. His utterance of a single sentence could turn the entire Demonic Sound clan into a sea of blood. That was why Demonic Sound clan's people were really scared of him. After Dishan arrived, he squinted, glancing at Chao Jilan, Gu Linglong, and Chu Yenqing, then frigidly asked, Are these the three female prisoners? These three female prisoners. Yameng nodded his head. Wait until that little rascal arrives. Let him take them. Dishan slightly nodded and coldly said, That little rascal really has good tastes. These three human grown-up girls are actually beautiful. Such exceptional beauties. Chao Jilan's beautiful face changed slightly. She sat up in silence, glanced at Chu Yenqing, and listened concentratedly. Chu Yenqing's and Gu Linglong's eyes also changed. Their faces were a little frightened. They turned their bodies to listen to the conversations of the pagans with an insecure feeling. Since these girls had been captured and confined, although they encountered many troubles, they still have each other's back. Therefore, they felt insecure but not too much terrified. However, this time was different. The targets of these wings races people were obviously themselves. Therefore, the three girls started to be worried and felt frightened. They did not know how their lives would turn out after all. "Father, this thing?" Yaji spoke up after hesitating for a while. A little discontent appeared in his eyes. "These three human prisoners have been captured by me, you see." "Stop talking nonsense," Meng coldly shouted. "You will not dream of them any longer. Everything is done." "Father," Yaji shouted. "Your son is not satisfied?" Dishan smirked, glanced at Meng frigidly. "You cannot even handle your own son." Meng's face turned pale. He angrily looked at Yaji. Yaji's body suddenly calmed down, nodded his head enduringly, bowed his head, and said, "Father, I understand. I will listen to your direct order." Chao Jilan looked at Dishan and asked fearlessly, "What have you arranged for us?" Dishan was a little astonished, looked at her weirdly, and said, "You're brave. No worries. We will not kill you. We only need your bodies." The three female prisoners Chao Jilan, Gu Linglong, and Chu Yanqing suddenly changed their facial expressions. Their gentle bodies trembled. Their eyes were full of anger and disgrace. Compared to being killed, losing your virginity is extremely lucky. Dishan's face was emotionless. It is not the Wings races or the demonic Sound clan's men who will do the deed. Instead, that guy is also of the same race as you all. This is your fortune. Same race? Gu Linglong was astonished, asked urgently, "Who?" "You will know soon." Dishan smiled wickedly. He did not mention anything about Shiryan. The three girls looked at each other. They seemed to know vaguely who it was, but did not dare to continue asking. Zoom, zoom, zoom. The sound of flapping wings came up to the people's ears. Not long after that, a white lightning zoomed overhead. As the lightning zoomed over, the matriarch of the White Wings clan gently descended from the sky with Shiryan in her hand. After throwing Shiryan onto the floor without regarding his pain, Yuro sickly smiled, had a quick glance at the three female prisoners. She then laughed out loud and said, "His tastes are not bad. Every of these three girls is very beautiful. The girl with the mask is also charming. This little rascal is a lusty devil indeed." It is you?" Yaji's body agitated again. His eyes were full of resentment. The three female prisoners Chao Jilan, Gu Linglong, and Chu Yanqing could not help but tremble, looked at Shiryan who had just fallen down to the ground. All of them goggled at him, not knowing what to do with the target that they had initially chased. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.